sights to show you?
Hell yeah.
Welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse, everyone. If you're not watching football, hopefully you're watching us, as we are going to count down our favorite 30 horror film masks that we've seen on screen. And I'll be honest, there's a few here I haven't seen. One, I'm disappointed because it's a Hammer movie, Paranoiac. I have it. I just haven't watched it. But you know me, I always like to delve into new stuff, and I have to because I've watched everything else I have, I think. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to do that. Nate, our resident filmmaker, will also be sharing some of the masks he's used on screen as well in between some of our picks. And we'll get to take a look and maybe hear about his thoughts on his own mask from his projects. And yeah, that's what we're going to do today. If you are new to the channel, the page, all that good stuff. I actually missed the opening theme. Okay. I'm glad. Well, that's the other. There's the other theme from the other show too. But if you're new here, please subscribe. We're getting closer and closer to the goal of 150 million. We're at 1613, so that's good. And then like us on Facebook. Hit the like button for us. You know that goes a long way. And there will be spoilers because old movies. So anyway, I'll bring in everyone. First, we have Nathan Thomas Milner, who brought up the topic. What got you thinking about masks?
Well, let's see. I think I just bought one, didn't I? I don't remember why, but we did an issue in Horror Hound magazine, one of my very first issues where I did artwork for, and we counted, I think, the top 20 then, and I had to draw all 20 of them.
Oh.
Shitty art. It's awful. It pops up every once in a while, but it was like my early color days where I didn't know how to do color, and I was like, my drawings were like as basic as can be because I didn't know how to. Yeah, it was just a mess. They're ugly, but that was one of the first things we did. And I thought, there's been so many more masks since then. This was 2009, 2010, or whatever, and I thought, might as well talk about. Like those, and then what's come after. I mean, it's such a part of our genre, and it didn't even dawn on me. Like almost every horror movie I've made, I've had a masked character of some kind, except for Confession and the Christmas one. So, and I'm just thinking this one here. It's not coming up, but I was one of the writers of the Wicked Ones, which has two masked characters in it. I didn't include that one because I didn't have anything to do with those masks. That was all Tori. But I did write on it. But. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of masks in horror and in a lot of genres, really. But you think back to the 1970s Giallo films where you got the masked man in leather gloves and the knife,
Yeah.
Or in the slasher boom right after Halloween came out, you've got so many slashers. I mean, one of them's on the list. That was kind of birthed out of that, and there's a lot of masks, and it's when you put the list up, you're like, oh, but we do masks. Here's my top 28 or whatever it was. Like, I can't even think of any. Like my brain went completely blank when I saw that. I was like, Jason, Michael Myers. Does Freddy wear? No, Freddy wears a hat, not a mask. He's got a burned face. I started kind of going one by one. One of the ones that I was surprised that none of us mentioned was the Phantom of the Opera mask.
Yeah, that was on the Horror Hound mask. I had to draw both of them. I did do both of them on that. And I almost did it because I just recently drew the skull from the Mask of the Red Death scene, which I love. I'm not a big fan of the one with just the little curtain, little skirt or whatever you want to call it. I don't really care for that one, but and then someone mentioned, I almost put it on my list, the Phantom of the Paradise mask, which is
that's really such a weird movie. I forget about that movie, but yeah, that mask popped up when I was doing my research. It's such a weird movie. The mask is cool, but yeah, lots of masks. I mean, we could probably do it on top 50.
Yeah, there's a lot that aren't going to be on here like that. And,
yeah, I think people will be pleased with this list overall. You know. But let's get Seth in here, and Seth, let's get him in and kick him right out. Seth.
It's just like him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Still with that picture, huh?
Absolutely.
What was that? Simple Dave, or what was it called? What was that character? It was from
Simple Jack.
Simple Jack.
One of Ben Stiller's finest performances.
I'm simple stuff.
I Am Sam spoof. And
Is that what it is?
Spoof. It's kind of, he's making fun of like Forrest Gump and
Of Men and
like
Mice
that.
or Mice and Men.
well, like there's a whole thing where people had to play a handicapped person to win an Oscar.
Hmm.
And so like who was it? Oh, it was in that movie, right? They're talking about going full block, R word. You can't do that because like Tom Hanks didn't go, so he got an Oscar. But Sean Penn and I Am Sam full, so he didn't win.
That I wonder that why didn't they make that movie? Tropic Thunder is hilarious, but why not make that full Simple Jack or whatever?
Yeah.
Seth, when Nate broached this topic on us, what were your initial thoughts? Because my brain started like getting scattered and I couldn't remember any masks. Were you the same way?
Dude, I was exactly the same way as you. I was like, can I even do this? And but I was like, all right, I'm gonna cheat and I'm just gonna wait for those two to drop their list first, meaning you guys, and then I was gonna just kind of plagiarize. But like outside of like Halloween and Friday 13th, I was like kind of drawing a blank, and some were kind of coming to me as I was starting to develop my list. But I still kind of struggled, so. But I think what we have here is a pretty solid list.
Well, I like when Nate starts off because okay, I got some ideas. Then let me get started with these, and I'll start writing down, some of the things Nate has, and I'm like, so it's good to have like a skeleton made already for you before you start adding the flesh.
I've had to draw a lot of this stuff, so that's also part of it. Like there's a lot that I've had to draw that aren't on the list, like the Terror Train. I've had to draw all the Terror Train masks for
the Blu-ray. That would be the top 50. I didn't like that mask, but yeah, I mean, one of them right away. We'll get started in a second, but that you did that one too, the very first one on our list, and the number one numerous times on our list. So
should be able to do it in my sleep. Yeah,
probably. I've always found it tough. We'll get to that, but I always find like I'm not great with drawing, but like it's such a blank, expressionless face. It's like, how do you draw that? But you always nail it. So anyway, let's get you guys ready to get started with the list, and we'll kind of talk over what works, what doesn't work, or if we like it, don't like, whatever. Just kind of have a conversation about it. And the first one is Nate, this is your pick, one of your picks.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take the lead.
Well, this is Farmer Vincent in Motel Hell, which Ray mentioned. I did the Blu-ray cover for Scream Factory. I got to draw this image, so I was really excited to get that job because I knew I was going to get to draw that the pig head.
Yep.
Because I remember seeing this, I think even before I saw this movie.
My grandpa's favorite movie, by the way.
Was it?
Yep.
So this was like this iconic, image out there in the horror world. I mean, I'd seen it before. I even became a horror fan. I mean, I think the movie came out in 1981, so I was 5 when the movie came out. But Rory Calhoun here, he's this crazy farmer guy, and at the end, and the climax, he shows up with this severed pig head all over wearing it as a mask, which makes no sense. I mean, there's no way he could see out of a severed pig's head. But has this great chainsaw scene, which I read today that Toby Hooper was originally supposed to direct the film. They wanted Harry Dean Stanton to play Farmer Vincent, but they got Rory Calhoun here, who did a great job. Talking about that image, I found out this. I remember this cover, a production still of Farmer Vincent wearing this severed pig's head, holding the chainsaw, was the cover photograph for Fangoria number 9. And the poor sales of the issue, whether due to the photograph or other unknown reasons, led this issue to become both one of the most expensive Fangoria issues of the 1980s and one of the rarest Fangoria issues of the 1980s. This was a cover recalled issue due to the graphic nature of its cover featuring this photograph. So I guess this showed up on stands and newsstands weren't having it, and magazine shops and things. So the issue was recalled. So I didn't know it was a collector's item. I guess there's not a lot out there in the wild. But I always thought this was creepy as shit. I mean, and the movie's funny. I mean, and when you watch the scene, it's weird because it is funny, but it's just terrifying.
One of the weird memories for me about this back in the 80s was when my grandpa rented it to watch it for me, and I remember him telling me, Raymond, this is my favorite movie. And we put it in. I was terrified of it. So this was one that I had to wait till I got the Blu-ray that you did the cover for to watch it again. I'm like, yeah. So I was kind of terrified of this movie. This movie is fucking silly. It's kind of hilarious. It's, why did I wait 30 plus years to watch this movie? But this is kind of an iconic image too. Big head with the chainsaw and the red and black lumberjack.
Yeah, the flannel, the red flannel, the bib overalls.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get more Southern fried psycho killer than this. I mean, this is more Southern fried psycho killer than Leatherface is. Yeah. I mean, it's basically Leatherface in another way, but
but he's also of sound mind for the most part.
Yeah,
Leatherface, not exactly.
Yeah,
but he's just trying to make some money too. Capitalism. Seth, have you seen Motel Hell?
I have not. It's been on my radar. I just keep forgetting about it.
We need to do
definitely
that
one to check out.
Yeah, I was thinking when I picked this image today, we need to do this. We need to do this movie, like an episode of this movie. It'd be fun.
That'd be cool. It's on Prime and Tubi, so we should do an episode. This is a fun movie, and give me a chance to rewatch it. I like Motel. I think you'd like it, Seth. Actually, you should check it out. Maybe that'd be a future episode. And I'm not going to put anything.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch it for years.
Yeah, you should. It's fun. I definitely think you'd like it, but I don't want to put anything in stone.
Be like a good double feature with like Eaten Alive or Texas Chainsaw 2.
I can agree with that. All right, number 29 is now. Did Keith get a write-in vote? Is that what happened here?
This is Seth's pick.
This is Seth's pick. So Seth, go ahead. Oh,
left.
Is he having issues?
Watching a football game.
What's that, Collector?
Yeah, the Collector.
Collector. Oh, can you not see?
Maybe it's not the camera that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you guys right now.
Okay, we'll go ahead and talk about the Collector.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of threw this out there. I was trying to, figure out my list, and I remember really liking the Collector. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I think it's a good horror antagonist, and it's kind of an interesting mask there.
Yeah, the second one's pretty good. I actually saw the second one before the first one because I had no idea. Like the posters are almost identical.
The mask kind of has kind of shades of other masks that are on this list later, but it's kind of like a sidekick kind of thing almost. I don't know much about this mask and the design or the choices of it. I do know the movie itself was pitched as a prequel to Saw, and it was shot down.
I didn't know that. I guess I could kind of see that. Am I coming through okay, by the way?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're not having just
and there was
tons of troubles.
I remember when it came out there's another great horror film from the 60s called The Collector with Terrence Stamp playing a serial killer. Like he kidnaps a woman, keeps her in his house.
General Zod.
General Zod.
Okay, The Collector and The Collection are both worth checking out. I like them both. I like The Collection a little bit slightly better. Number 28 is Night of the Scarecrows. Bubba? Is that what he's called?
Bubba didn't do it.
Yeah. This is a good movie. I've only seen it once, but I liked it.
It's like the best scarecrow horror movie there is, and this like I don't know how they made this mask, or I mean, it's a burlap sack. It's a classic scarecrow thing, but it's so haunting looking, and it's like this is a cool image, but even like when you can't at night when you see it, you can't see the eyes. You see this kind of it's almost kind of like ghost face, kind of like this kind of ghostly with the mouth open, like a painful because it is a painful character. It's a character that's been murdered and getting revenge, and I don't know, just the way that mask looks, the way it fits, the way it's almost skeletal, the way the cheeks kind of go in there, and it's got this great shape to it, which I don't know if that's just it happened when they shot it or there's wire work or something in it to give it that look. But it has this great shape to it. It's not just a sack. There's actually form to it.
Plus, it looks like it's sitting off the face, not like
Yeah.
directly on the face, which is interesting.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be hiding in it, so I guess it needed to be bigger than Clark. What's his name? God, I can't remember the guy's name. He's on LA Law.
Yeah.
Shit.
I'm looking it up though, because
Yeah.
I can't remember either. There's a second one.
Larry something. Yeah, the new one. JD, who wrote the original, made the sequel, and it took him like I don't know 15 years to make it.
Larry Drake.
Larry Drake. Yeah. What was that movie? He played Dr. Giggles.
Dr. Giggles. Yep,
yeah.
that's right. And he was in Dark Man too.
Dark Man. He was the villain in
Yeah,
Dark Man. Yeah. He was at one of the conventions I worked at. They had a reunion for this movie, and I used to see JD, the writer, and I've had a lot of conversations with him because he was just always around and really a big supporter of this movie. And this is still, to me, along with Duel, one of the very best horror TV movies ever made. Like I love this movie.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I watched it. I didn't get to see it till I think it was last year, and especially what was it, 1980,
like 81,
81. So yeah, so even for back in 1981, it almost had enough of the qualities you'd find in a non-made-for-TV horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been I mean, you wouldn't even think it was a TV film.
Right.
As good as it is, the atmosphere, and the cast. It's got a great cast. You got Charles Durning, you got Lane Smith.
Yeah, some people that I didn't expect to see in the movie. Yeah. So it's got some decent. Lane Smith is somebody who I've always liked.
Yeah.
It started with Son-in-Law, and then I started seeing other things with him in it, and he's
wasn't he the other lawyer in My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
Yeah, the prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He plays a good character like that, and he was in one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, Distinguished Gentleman.
Oh yeah.
Which I really like. Nobody ever talks about that movie. Number 27 on the list. Seth, did you have anything to say? I know you're coming in and out, but I want to ask before we move on. He's on mute. That sucks that he has trouble. All right, I'm just going to go on to the next one, which is another one I haven't seen.
This is a pretty cool movie. It's called The Hills Run Red. It's a slasher film.
I think the poster art, the DVD art, kind of kept me away from it because it looks very cheap.
Oh, it does, and it's not a big budgeted movie, but it's actually a really good one. I haven't been back to see it, but I remember liking it. And the killer, he's fucking cool looking. I mean, this is like a Leatherface type character. It's a guy that's disfigured. He's wearing, I think maybe his face is cut off or something. He's putting this little baby doll mask on. He's got like a jawbone attached to the baby doll mask. It's really cool mask design, really fucking creepy. It's got that leather face kind of vibe, but this sad little baby doll face
with porcelain doll type,
with like a human jaw tied to it. Really creepy. I wrote something here about the character. Born from incest when Wilson Concannon, an infamous horror film director, raped his 13-year-old daughter Alexa, the killer was locked away in the shed as a young boy, where he cuts off his face and stitched on a baby face mask in hopes of impressing his father. So that's the character. And I think the movie is like this kind of movie in a movie. I think maybe the victims are filmmakers making a movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, and it's about a 16-year-old movie. I'd like to revisit it because I do remember enjoying it.
Yeah, it's not streaming. It'd be a rental for sure. I looked. It's Vudu for $3, Amazon Prime for $3, YouTube for $3. Definitely something I wouldn't mind. From 2009. Checking out.
There's a lot of slasher movies.
William
at that time.
Sadler's in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got and the filmmaker Dave Parker. I think it's Dave Parker. I think he made that movie, The Dead Ate the Living. I think that was one he made. But it's a competent film. It's a good film. Like I said, it's got Sadler and all that. Yeah, I need to go back to this one. But I always just love the look of the killer. He's got a great look. It's a big guy. Again, just think Leatherface.
Maybe we should put this on the list as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not one I've seen, and
there were a lot of slasher films that were coming out in that time. Like, of course, there's some on this list, and also like Hatchet, and there was one called Midnight Movie where the killer had a skull mask, and
I haven't seen that either.
So yeah, there were a few. This is one of the
it's a little slasher boom at the end of the 2000s.
Yeah, definitely.
Seth, have you seen this one? I saw you're off mute.
I have not seen that one.
Okay. Yeah, this is we'll have to add this one to the list for 2024 of movies. And here, maybe another one right here with number 26, Paranoiac. It's a Hammer that I've not seen, and it does indeed have a creepy face.
Yeah, this is a mask that I want, and this is a movie from the 60s with Oliver Reed. And the cool thing about this story, like I saw this image in an issue of Fangoria magazine in the late 80s, and it was part of an ad, I think. So it didn't say what the movie was, but this image, like I was immediately drawn to, like, holy shit, that's creepy. That's really cool. And I had no idea what it was. And I could not find out what it was for years. This was back when you could like just, and like, how do you Google that? Like, what is it? Look for, what is that thing? What is that mask?
That's a good question.
And yeah, and it's, I had no idea. And then John Kitley, who writes Kitley's Corner in Horror Hound magazine, he usually has an issue. Every issue he'll have an article, and he'll bring a spotlight to a film. And he had a spotlight for Paranoiac, and they had this image. And I'm like, holy shit, that's it. And I wrote John, like, John, you just like solved a 20-year mystery for me, And I ordered the DVD and watched it, and it was really cool. It's kind of like a Psycho kind of movie. It's not a slasher film. Like, this character is not really prominent in the film. It's not like this is not like the antagonist of the movie or anything. It's a different story, but the movie was really well made. Oliver Reed I always love, and he's like the lead, and it's kind of like it's in the Hitchcock vein. It's kind of like if you like Psycho, it's something to check out. It's not as good as Psycho, of course. It would be better known if it were, but it's in that wheelhouse. It's like Hammer trying to make a Psycho movie. This mask is really fucking creepy. It's like this cherub kind of thing, but also it has like if you see it another light or better light, if you Google Paranoiac mask, you can see it's kind of like a painted on smile and a painted, like, kind of has eyelashes and eyebrows and stuff. So it's in it, but the texture and the surface of it's all scratched up and damaged and stuff. It's really creepy. And I told my buddy Derek, who's a makeup artist, I was like, I want to remake this mask. Like, no one's making this mask, but I want this in my collection because I've been fascinated by it since the 80s.
It's very unsettling, this mask.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, and it does give off a slasher vibe, especially since, it's got the knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely the one that I like to. I got the Hammer. It's like 30 movies or something like that, 30 pack or 15. I don't remember how many movies it is, and that's on there. So I've been trying to go through all those movies. I actually chose to watch a movie called The Snorkel over this, which was okay. It wasn't terrible. But yeah, maybe we could put this. Seth, do you have that collection?
What collection?
It's like a Hammer movie collection. It's not Dracula and Frankenstein stuff. It's like I have to look. I'll have to send you a picture of it. But it's got Paranoiac in it, and they also did a bunch of 2-packs. That this was in a 2-pack with something else. I'll have to look and see what it is. Because we should
think I do have that. Actually.
I thought that you had some kind of Hammer collection. While you think about that, how about we move on to Nate's first feature, Girl Number 3?
Yeah, my first film, and the character there in the middle. The movie's about it's Halloween. These girls are kidnapped on Halloween, and they're taken to this kind of warehouse by these masked men who kidnapped them, and they're forcing them into this kind of ritual. And the mask that the character's wearing, that's actually my face. So I kind of made it with my family. So the masks are kind of my dad and my brother-in-law Joe and my face. And so this is me on the left. I was in the film a couple times, and this is like a flashback scene in the opening of the movie. And so the origin of the mask, I mean, of course, it's very Michael Myers, but what it was when I was in high school, I had created this slasher character. It's not in this movie, but there was a slasher story I wrote in the early 90s in high school. And we were in art class, and I'm sure a lot of people, if they took art class, made those plaster masks where you put the plaster strips on your face and then you had to paint it.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody, maybe not everybody did that, but we did that in art class, probably like my senior year. And you were supposed to paint it, but when we made the masks, made the molds of our face, I was like, I loved it. I'm like, I love the texture. It was just creepy. And I was like, I don't want to paint it. So I think I got a failing grade because I refused to paint it. So when I was designing the Girl Number 3, when I wrote it as a short film, and when I thought about the mask that I was going to use on the characters, I was like, why don't I use that? And I'll just have this plaster white mask with ski masks, like black ski masks underneath. And all of them are wearing it. There's about, I don't know, 8 or 10 guys. I can't remember how many we had wearing these masks in the movie. So there's an outtake from like behind the scenes.
Is that you?
I think that's Eric, one of the makeup artists, or it's either Eric or Todd. I think it's Eric.
You know what's kind of funny about these masks you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, so when my wife was passing, we had this art person come, and my kids had to make masks like these. And I remember thinking to myself, like, these, like, I get this as art therapy, but holy shit, these are creepy. Like,
yeah, this is another behind the scenes shot. And I have one of the masks with me here. I got the main bad guy was played by my buddy Sean Dauphin, who was one of the makeup artists. And, he had this pentacle on the forehead for that one. I didn't have any of the masks because I wasn't the director. I was the writer, and they made it based on my comic, and I wrote the screenplay. But Sean, the director gave Sean this one, and then Sean gave it to me. He said, you should have that. So it's just a plaster mask with a shoestring tie. We would put on ski mask and then put that over. And
it's a creepy design.
Yeah, they're creepy. And like,
especially with the texture. You can see the texture on it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the brow. Yeah.
So this is about, we shot that in 2008, 2009. So I think this might be my face too.
It looks like it.
Well, I think it's my face.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think this was my face, but we made it a little more, with prominent forehead. We gave this one a little more
more doctoring,
more inhuman, a little more boxy. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Is that movie anywhere streaming?
I think you can watch it on Tubi or something. Like, it's very, very first time for everybody. But I still I would love to remake Girl Number 3 because I think it had a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of people really liked it. That we showed it to, and Jack Ketchum was one of the people who really liked it. Before he passed away, he watched it and reviewed. Joe Bob Briggs reviewed it and liked it. Said check it out. You know,
For an indie movie, it's got a 4.9. That's not bad on IMDb.
yeah. I had a lot of people say it was like the Clerks of horror films because it's black and white. It's very low budget, no like non-actors. There's some actors in it. You know, and I'm in it. My daughter was in it. Actually, it's the funniest thing about that is like we started shooting it in 2008, and then we lost our main location. But when we shot it in 2008, my wife was pregnant with Lily, and Brenda's in it, pregnant, and then a few seconds later, we switched to another scene. We shot that in 2009, and Lily is a little baby held by my mom in the scene, and it's like, so there she was in the belly, and then wait a few minutes, and there she is, and I got to do a cameo as like the store manager, and then I was the killer in the beginning because we needed somebody, and I was directing, and we were shooting 2 units that day, so that's kind of my first directing, really. I was shooting second unit, and then I had in the big round of scene, I had to put on the mask to stand in for somebody else because they weren't there. So that was a cool thing because everyone's masked. You know, it didn't matter who was there, really, in the masks if somebody was missing. And I didn't enjoy playing a villain in that. I was just too nice.
I think I'd love doing that, honestly.
I enjoyed like the very beginning of the movie is me chasing the girl in those photos, and it was very much my Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers stuff because I was in the mask. I was just stalking her with a knife through this place. But when I had to like grab the girls and drag them around and I had to grab one girl and carry her away, and that was right when my back was going bad. So like I remember complaining about my back, and one of the girls was like, she had just gotten out of the Marines or something. And she was like calling me a pussy because my back was hurting. But the thing is, I had big diagnosis at the time. I had 2 herniated discs and a pinched nerve I didn't know about. And that's why I was hurting.
Right. Jeez. Well, it's a good thing you got some sympathy.
Yeah. She was cool. She's really great. She's her name's Caitlin. And she actually took over. She was an extra. And we had an actress not show up who had a more key role on the big day, and we couldn't wait for her. So this girl was so talented and so good that we just gave her that part after we shot the big scene. So, yeah.
All right. That's cool. Thanks for the info on Girl Number 3, which is available on Plex, it said, for free. Okay. And next, number 25 on our list, Seth, are you there? Because I've never seen this movie.
I'm here. Have you seen it, Nate?
I have seen it, but I don't remember. It's a Don Coscarelli movie based on a book, right?
Yeah, based on a really great book written by a complete total smartass. You'll love it. It's great.
Wait, Seth, you wrote a book?
Yeah, so this is John's Weldon helmet from the third act of John Dies at the End. And I just thought, it's not in the movie for very long. It's just used in the third act, but I kind of like that modified mask there. I think it looks pretty cool, and that movie doesn't get talked about enough. And
let's do a show
on
on
it. So I just wanted to give it a shout out.
I remember it was really cool, very, very different. Isn't Paul Giamatti in it?
I think so. I've never seen it. There you go. We can do a show on this one too. We're coming up with show ideas while we're doing the episode. Yeah, because this is one that's been on my list to watch. I just have never gotten around to it. So
yeah, we should.
If Seth pressures me enough, I'll watch it.
I'm down.
For like the last
I've got the DVD. I'm pretty sure.
I actually think about the Blu-ray at Dollar Tree
for the last For the last 3.5 years, Amber's been pressuring me, asking when we're going to be doing this.
Well, this year, how about that? We got the Hills Run Red, Motel Hell, and John Dies at the End. Spoiler alert. Which I've never seen it. I'll look forward to watching my Blu-ray I've had for a few years. Number 24 is the pig mask from Saw. Nate had it labeled as Amanda's mask. Can we really tell who's under the mask at any point in time?
Not really, but I think it's
Yeah.
supposed to be her. 'Cause she's
Is
really
it?
doing all the label. I think it's different people, different time, but I think Amanda's kind of the main character wearing it to do John's work. I did write some stuff down about it. I was trying to research all these things, get as much info as I could.
Like why he used a pig mask?
Yeah, it says as the series continues, the purpose of the pig mask is explored in detail. It is explained to be a tribute to the year of the pig, the year in which John started his work. In Chinese astrology, zodiacal animals refer to fixed cycles of 12 animals. The same cycle of 12 is used for cycles of years and cycles of hours. In the case of years, the cycle of 12 corresponds to the 12-year cycle of Jupiter. In the case of the hours, the 12 hours represents 12 double hours for each period of night and day. In a continuous sexagenary cycle of 60 years, every 12 years corresponds to Hai, the 12th of the 12 earthly branches. This reoccurring 12th year is commonly called the year of the pig. There are 5 types of pig named after the Chinese elements. In order, they are metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. These correspond to the heavenly stems. Thus, there are 5 pig years in every cycle. When working on the original Saw film, writer Leigh Whannell and director James Wan wanted their antagonist to have some sort of mask. After some discussion, the idea of Jigsaw wearing a rotting pig's head was chosen to symbolize his pessimistic view of the world and the disease that he was rotting from. Nevertheless, the mask given to them from production, a rubber Halloween mask, was considered by them to be less than satisfactory. A number of things were added to make it look more gruesome, including long black hair and pus running from its eyes and nostrils. Whannell has still admitted to being disappointed with its final appearance compared to his intended one, but has admitted that the mask has since become one of the staples of Saw franchise.
Yeah, for sure. It's a cool, creepy mask because you don't expect it ever, and I don't know if they ever used it in promo material either.
No.
Steph would know, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, there was a poster for the 8th film that uses the pig mask.
The 8th one, is that Jigsaw? Yeah.
I don't think I've seen Jigsaw yet.
It's okay. It's not the best. Some cool traps though. Seth, is there anything you want to add to this one?
No, not really. You guys covered it. I mean, I like it. It's pretty cool and it's effective in the certain moments where it's used. You know, where it's always used during the flashbacks of like when people are taken. And it's usually like home invasion type, scenarios. So it's effective in that moment.
It is, yeah. I like that, especially when it pops out of nowhere. Get a little jump scare in there as well.
Yeah.
So that was number 24. Number 23 is Sam from Trick or Treat. Who doesn't love Sam?
A great character.
Yeah, I love Sam.
Yeah.
I love his actual face. I think it's Quinn Lord, I think is who played him.
Yeah.
Great, body, the way he moves. What is it called? Body language.
Well, it's so good that he cast a child because he moves like a child. And that's what's so adorable but creepy about it at the same time. And I remember my favorite Quinn Lord story is like when we premiered Girl Number 3 at Horror Hound Weekend in 2009. Quinn was there as a guest, and he was still young. He was, I don't know, this was like 2 years after the movie came out. Of course, I think the movie was out. The movie was made years, like it sat on the shelf or something for a long time, from what I understand. I don't know how old he was when they made it, but Tom Savini was there too, and his grandson was with him the whole weekend. So his grandson was maybe a few years younger than Quinn. And on like the Sunday or Saturday, we were sitting there at our table, and Quinn and Tom Savini's grandson are just like on the floor playing in front of our booth like for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, just hanging out, being kids. I always liked this one. Trick or Treat was based on a animation short that Mike Doherty did, I think when he was a student, called Season's Greetings. And he used to doodle all the time, all these little characters and figures in his notebooks while he was in school. And he said one of them that kept reappearing was this little character with it was kind of a scarecrow in orange footy pajamas with a burlap sack mask, button eyes, and a permanent grin stitched on his face with twine, and kind of a cross between a scarecrow and a pumpkin. And so he ended up doing this short. And he said basically you kind of see Sam, of course, named after Samhain, Sam Hain, whatever. He said it was kind of like Michael Myers and Jack Skelton, who he felt they represented each side of Halloween's dual identity, horrifying and hilarious, cute but creepy, ominous yet inviting, one half serial killer, one half cartoon. And that's, I think that the smile is what really does it, the stitched smile. I don't know. I've drawn this character. I was originally hired to do the Blu-ray cover, and I think I did some Sam stuff for Fright Rags, like Halloween decorations. Yeah, I'm looking at them on the wall right now. Yeah, the old school stuff you would hang out.
Yeah, I remember seeing those.
Yeah, I did the Trick or Treat. I think they put some of them on a T-shirt. So yeah, I adore Sam. I think he's a great character and great look. This kind of lollipopped head, pumpkin head kind of thing. This child and the noises he would make. He sounds like a little baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
creepy.
I love Sam. I don't know if we ever even talked about Trick or Treat on the show.
I can't remember. I think we were going to, but never did. Probably one of those times where I was hurt or we canceled shows or something for Halloween season. I think we were going to do it for Halloween season. Yeah.
Oh, maybe this year in October. Do more shows for Halloween movies that aren't Halloween movies. Like Michael Myers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, Seth, before I move on?
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
There we go.
Yeah, no, it's a cool character and it's a cool design, and I do enjoy that movie quite a bit. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a good movie. It's we watch it every year when we carve jack-o'-lanterns. So I love it. My kids love it. I think it's good for almost any age, except for there's a porno scene at the beginning. But other than that, we'll move on to 22. As Seth calls him, Evil Superboy from Brightburn. Creepy mask.
Yeah, it was. This was one of my picks. I don't know if you guys had him on your list or not.
Nope, totally forgot about it until you put it up.
Yeah, I didn't think to. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at my collection. I'm like, oh yeah, Brightburn is a horror movie with it's like the horror version of Superman, and I think it's kind of like a cool mask and a cool design, and I dig that movie quite a bit. So I definitely wanted to include it.
It's not exact, but there's something that gives me Cthulhu vibes about the way the mouth is. I don't. It's not. They're not tentacles. It's just this lacing, but
yeah,
it makes me think of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I totally see it. It's a cool mask. The story itself is a really cool concept too. I like it. Maybe it's another one we need to talk about this year. Jeez.
Yeah, it kind of made me think of Watchmen and how the whole idea of if there was a Superman, would we embrace him or would we be afraid of him because he'd be so powerful? Yeah, it's a cool idea.
Number 21, Demone. The mask that started it all. You barely see the mask in the movie. It's only shown a couple of times, but it has a profound impact. It's a really cool mask. And it was hard to leave this one off the list because without the mask, there's no movie. So I'm a big fan of this film.
I would love to have a replica of that.
Me too. I have the Metropole ticket. I need to get the mask now. It's such a cool, creepy looking mask, and for an
Yeah.
awesome ass movie.
It's kind of like the Japanese no mask, the
Mhm.
Hanya mask, like we saw in Onibaba.
It almost reminds me of that Onibaba mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Demons is an awesome fucking movie.
The silver plating. It's kind of like the what was it, the ghouls in the band Ghost. They all wear kind of this sort of metallic, faceless kind of mask like that.
Yeah, wasn't there a ninja movie back in like the late '70s, early '80s where they had the ninja masks, but it was like a silver mask underneath, kind of like this, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
I can't remember what it was called, but Goretta putting that mask on, cutting her face, and pus shooting out everywhere. Such a fun movie. I loved Demons.
That was a good one.
Yeah, definitely good. We've talked about it a few times.
Yeah.
Between this show and other shows, it's Brian Enright made a great point, and I agree that this is probably the best like introduction to Italian horror for anyone. Is Demons. It's fun, it's crazy, it's gross,
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think, and I was hired to do. I was hired to do Blu-rays for the first two movies, or is there only two?
Oh, do you want to get into that?
Oh, okay, yeah.
There are like 12 of them.
That's right. Yeah. I was supposed to do the first two, and I don't know what happened. I guess I never did them. And then
you should do some Demons art. I bet people would buy that shit.
A long time ago, the guy that played the pimp guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actor's name.
He's awesome.
He hired me to do a T-shirt for him. So he was selling a T-shirt at conventions with artwork of him in that movie that I did. Yeah, I did a shirt for him, and I did a shirt for Fred Williamson.
Bobby Rhodes, by the way.
Yeah, Bobby Rhodes. That's it.
Yeah, I bet you're doing all these great prints and everything for the next. Do a Demons one. See how that goes. Mm-hmm. Do Sally from Demons 2. I'll buy it. I'm just saying. Next up, we got another Nate original.
Another Nate original. All right. This is for my second film. Actually, my directorial debut. I think this is online too. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I like the story. It was a very personal story to me. It was a short comic that I did. I worked for a company, or we started one called Fright. What was it called? Forgetting the name. Rebel? No. Why am I forgetting the company's name? Anyway, we were going to do a horror issue, and we were going to do zombie stories, and so each of us had to write an 8-page and draw a zombie story as a tribute to George Romero. And I was thinking about how to bring zombies back from the dead, and there was all these different options that we'd seen before, and I thought, well, what about a wish? And kind of a telltale heart kind of thing. Not telltale heart, monkey's paw. And so the title, A Wish for the Dead, came up because of Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Wish for the Dead. And so we were doing the comic, and it was an anthology, and Bruce Jones, who was one of the writers, had come up with sort of our Crypt Keeper character, who would be our host for the series of the comics. And he was this character he called Dr. Splatter, and he kind of had this half burnt, like when the movie came out, people kept saying Darkman, and I didn't even think about it and see it, but I can see it now. But that wasn't the intention. The original character, Dr. Splatter, had long hair. He was half burned, and he had his mouth was pierced together. He had a cut smile like the Joker, but it was pierced together like the character from Itchy the Killer. And so when I had to write him into this story, he was the one. This character is looking to heal. His wife is dying, and he wants to save her life. And this character shows up, Dr. Splatter. I don't call him that in the movie. I call him the man. But he offers him this locket and says, you get one wish, but it has to be a wish from the heart. And you can have this wish. So I needed this character to sneak into this hospital, lobby, to offer this guy this locket. And I was like, well, I can't have him look like he does in the comic because he looked like Vincent Price with burns and the stitched face and all that. And I said, well, I could have him sneak in like he's a homeless guy in a trench coat and have his burns all bandaged up because he would look like he's supposed to be there because he's all bandaged up. So it's not really a mask, but it kind of is, because I always liked characters who had, like, yeah, people said Darkman, but I wasn't thinking of Darkman. I was thinking of there was like the Unknown Soldier. There were in Sin City.
People always try to find things to compare things to.
Yeah, Sin City. You know, people had the bandages up. So
he looks like Hush from Batman.
Yeah, Hush. You know, but that wasn't the intention. But like after a while, you say, "Oh yeah, it's all it's parallel." But what's funny is like this was the first day he wore it. You can see it's a little different. When we got to the set, like, and I was the director, but the producer was handling all the stuff, and he had this makeup team and all that. So when I got there, like, they didn't have any damn bandages. I'm like, hold on, the main character, he's got all these bandages on his face. You didn't bring bandages? You didn't tell the makeup people we need bandages for this character? Luckily, we were shooting in an actual hospital, but it was like a privately owned hospital that these physicians owned, that ran themselves. But luckily, of course, they had gauze on hand, so we were able to use some of their gauze to do it. Oddly enough, this location, it was funny. We shot this in 2010, 2011. When I went to get my spinal fusion, it was at this facility. I walked in, I was like, this is where we shot Ocean of the Dead. Really nice facility.
Would you go back?
I would go back. But yeah, this character was the man, I think is what I just ended up calling him in the movie.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, and the guy that played him, Robert Hatfield, I didn't really know him. He was the producer cast him in the part. It was he liked him, but he had a kind of a Robert Downey Jr. kind of vibe to him. Everybody thought, if some people said they came in and thought he was Robert Downey Jr., how'd y'all get Robert Downey Jr.? I was like, it's not Robert Downey Jr. This is like a $5,000 movie, but I think it is streaming. But yeah, this was my first directorial debut, second movie I wrote.
Cool. Pretty cool looking. I like this shot right here. Actually, yeah, it's a really good shot. It's number 20 as we get into the top 20. The Witch from Fright. Fright. What the hell wrong? Haunt. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the cool thing about this movie is, well, this movie's really cool, first of all, but there's a lot of really interesting looking masks, and you and I picked the same one because there's the devil mask, the ghost mask, and there's one other one,
the clown.
And I'm not a big fan of those clown masks like that. Like, I saw you had the young Michael Myers from Rob Zombie's Halloween on the.
I love that one. Yeah,
I looked at it again. I was like, man, there's something about clown masks that just don't, do it for me, if you will. But so when I saw Haunt, I was like, oh shit, let me go back and look at these masks. I was like, yeah, the Witch one looks the coolest, in my opinion.
I like to buy all four of them because Trick or Treat Studios sells them all, and the licensed ones, and I like all four. Like, I mean, they're those classic Ben Cooper vacuform type masks.
I love them. Yeah,
which I love. We all grew up on them, and yeah, the Witch one, just when I had to decide which one I liked the most, the Witch one was the one I thought that's the one I would first buy. And then I do like the clown one. I do like the ghost is very unique.
It's very unique. It looks like a cloud.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It looks like a cloud emoji or something.
Yeah.
Or an ice cream cone.
Or whipped cream. Whipped cream.
Yeah. And the devil one, it's just kind of standard. But the Witch one was definitely my favorite. It's
from Haunt.
The movie's called Haunt. It's a movie about these people who go to a haunted attraction, and these characters are definitely not just actors to entertain you. They are there with malevolent motives. It was shot around Cincinnati. I was going to go to the location. I went to buy a new car up there yesterday, and I was going to try to get to the actual location of the Haunt, which is a school that's closed now. And I want to go up there because it's only like an hour and a half away. But this is a really cool film. I think Eli Roth was a producer on it, if I remember right.
Yeah. And it was one of those that kind of came out of nowhere, too.
Yeah. There was a couple. There was another one called what was it called? Hell something. What was the other one?
Hellfest.
Hellfest. Both
Yeah.
of them are really good. I like
I
those.
liked Hellfest. Yeah.
And what sucks, I love them, but like what sucks is I actually wrote a screenplay for a movie just like this, like back in like I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, where these people go to a haunted attraction and some killer has killed one of the actors and has taken their costume and is killing people as they come through the haunt. So it was wild that it hadn't been done yet. I guess in some ways it had. Like you could say the Fun House, which is another movie with a horror with a mask.
Oh yeah,
mask. But I guess you could say Fun House was kind of that. But Haunt was a movie that kind of. I don't know if Haunt came before Hellfest or it seemed like they came out at the same time.
Hellfest came first, but Haunt's better. Hellfest is
yeah,
okay.
Haunt's a lot better. Yeah, but
Hellfest was a year prior.
Okay, I like both of them, but Haunt is the better. And I just revisited Haunt like last year and like, man, this is really good.
It's a good one for Halloween time because it's got a great vibe, and you don't expect what happens throughout the movie. I like it a lot. Keith, one of our former compatriots here, he loves this movie, like a lot. So it's definitely one. I think it's streaming on Shudder. It was last time I checked, because it's actually hard to get a copy of it, unfortunately. Well, you can get a DVD copy. I get Blu-ray, so I'm too big for the DVD stuff. No, but it's definitely one for people who haven't seen it. It's definitely a good one to watch. Yeah. So Seth left, huh? I didn't see it. I just noticed. Yeah, he's having problems with his connection. And some of these movies, I don't know if there are any more that are that hit.
I think all of his solo choices are done.
Okay. Yeah, because I know he hasn't seen the next one, which is number 19, Chrome Skull. Or there's two of them, I think. Laid to Rest.
Laid to Rest. Yeah. Sequel was just Chrome Skull, Laid to Rest 2, I think.
Yeah. Gory movies, man.
Yeah, I mean, made by an effects artist, so it makes sense. Robert Hall was an effects artist, and the first one does have Decker in it, right? Because he was Robert was the makeup artist on the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I think both
Thomas
of them.
Decker, is that you're talking about?
It's a Thomas Decker, and isn't the girl who played Sarah in it too?
The mom?
Yeah, Lena Headey. Lena Headey, is that her name?
Is that her name?
Yeah, from like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a Thomas Decker's in it. I think she's in it, but not for very long.
Briefly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
they're probably favors because they were low budget movies.
Right. Very low budget.
But again,
they couldn't get the third one made on Kickstarter, so
but they're pretty good. I remember really liking them a lot. He made
the
a
first
movie.
One was really good. The second one was okay.
Yeah, he made a movie before this. I think his debut movie was a movie called Lightning Bug, which I remember really, really liking. And that was one that was like kind of personal to him. And when I met him, I met Robert Hall at Horror Hound Weekend. I'd done a drawing of this character, and the guy that played him, I think his name was Nick Precipice or something like that, something like that. Both of them really cool. They both really liked the artwork. But sadly, Robert passed away last year or 2 years ago. I really, I mean, it's just a basic skull mask, but like chrome covered. But there was he was like a hitman or something, isn't he? Like he's wearing like a camera. It's a very different character. It's not just a serial killer. It's like a professional hitman. I mean, it's just really. I need to revisit them, but I remember digging them. But I mean, there was something. And this guy, he's kind of like 6'2", he's a tall guy.
Brian Austin Green plays in the second movie.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't
from what you call it. The first one's on Tubi.
Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah, Beverly Hills 90210, and he plays Metallo in Smallville. I don't know if the second one's streaming or not, but the first one is streaming on Tubi. I'm trying to find out if the other one is. Chrome Skull.
This is one of those slashers.
Both are on Tubi.
We're talking about the late 2000s where all these little slashers were coming out. This is in it Laid to Rest.
Danielle Harris is in the second one as well. How about that?
Yeah, that's right. They got her. She started just popping up in everything.
She was in Hatchet
2 and 3 and all that. Yeah.
Yep. Moving on. So maybe this is another one. Do a twofer with the Chrome Skull movies. They're both on Tubi, so we could all get a chance to watch them.
Yeah.
Seth, you're back, I see. Did you get to ever see these movies?
No, what movie is this?
Chrome Skull are Laid to Rest and Chrome Skull Laid to Rest 2.
Nope, never even heard of them.
They are on Tubi. Definitely worth checking out. Maybe we will do a show on these. I'm going to make a list of the masks that we've covered and the shows we might do. Maybe in November we'll do a show for number 18, the John Carver mask from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Simple mask, but really cool. I liked it. The only thing I was
really
disappointed with was the outfit. Why didn't wear the whole?
Yeah, I wish he
Yeah.
had the one from the trailer, the
Yeah.
full pilgrim costume. But yeah, he just kind of has a black jumpsuit like Michael Myers, which I just didn't love as much. At least he still got the hat, the pilgrim hat.
Yeah, because the hat and the mask play well, in my opinion.
But yeah, the mask is really cool. Just again, like that basic vacuum form mask. But I wrote this down. John Carver was a real guy. Was on the Mayflower, 1620. He was the first. He was the first governor of New Plymouth Colony. He died like soon after they arrived, though. Let's see. Eli Roth said, "Well, the design process was interesting because you want that silhouette to be great. It was Jeff Rendell, my writer, who's in the pilgrim outfit in the fake trailer. It's from Grindhouse, of course."
Mm-hmm.
And but when Jeff was doing the research, he said the first governor of New Plymouth Colony was named John Carver. If that's not a slasher movie killer name, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Then we started looking at the design, and there's one drawing of John Carver. There's one image of him. We took that as the basis for the mask. We said, well, why would there be this mask? Well, 2020 would be the 400-year anniversary of the founding of Plymouth. It was a big deal, and we actually tried to time the movie for it to come out in 2020, but it fell apart and COVID happened. So we thought, well, what if they made all of these masks for the 400-year anniversary? The premise is they made all these masks, but the parade would have been canceled because of COVID. So they have all these masks left over. It's got to be a mask that was given out to everybody in town. So it has this kind of weird and uncanny or historical figure. And when they're in your kitchen with an axe, that's when it's terrifying. So, yeah, it's kind of like everyone had this mask in town, so it could be anybody. Because one of those cheap things they would have handed out,
yeah,
for the celebration,
like COVID masks.
Yeah,
yeah. I like it. I know, Seth. I think you said you weren't keen on this mask. I think.
Yeah, not really. It doesn't really do much for me, but I'm glad you guys like it.
Yeah, I like it. All right. The only thing I didn't like about the movie was the reveal. I'm just gonna leave it there. But the more I think about it, the less I was impressed. But let's move on to number 17. If you guys are okay with Dr. Chalice and a skull mask from Halloween 3. And this is our first entry from Halloween 3, and there will be a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I think Nate has it, right?
Yep, I have it.
Let me pull that up.
I grabbed all the masks that I do have. Yeah. It says Trick or Treat Studios one.
You have all three of them?
Yeah. Trick or Treat Studios bought Don Post's library. So Don Post's mask is the oldest of the three. When they made the movie, there were two existing masks. The jack-o'-lantern was one that was specifically made for the movie. But the skull mask, I wrote down it was a pre-existing mask. This one was going back to 1967, but had slight alterations in its design over the years since its release. I was told that the skull masks used in the movie were mainly jumbo-sized, non-glow skulls, although there were also a few glow skulls seen in the movie. I believe they can be distinguished from the non-glow skulls by the extra tooth. So
that was missing that one tooth in the front.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes, yeah, he's got the.
That one's missing too. Yeah, but so there's three missing on this one. How many are missing in the chalice scene? So
3.
just
No. Oh, I see.
well,
1, 2,
there's
3.
2 on the bottom and 1
On
on
the
the
bottom,
top.
1 on the top. You have.
This has got 2 on the top missing.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I guess
slightly
one of
different.
them, maybe that was a glow in the dark one. Or
Yeah.
this one is. I don't know.
I mean, it was already glowing because it was on Dr. Chalice, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So cool mask. I like that mask quite a bit, but it's not my favorite of the bunch.
No, my least favorite of the 3.
Mm,
Still cool, but yeah. And I've gotten to draw it a few times.
yeah. I think. Do we all have different favorites?
I think all of us were kind of on the same page with how we ordered them.
I like the pumpkin one the best.
Me too.
What about you, Seth?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's I think you can do the most with it because I like that kid who's got the witch hat on the pump, like a witch costume with the pumpkin hat. I think that's cool. A pumpkin mask.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to say before we move on? Number 16. 16's a doozy.
Nope.
Hannibal Lecter's half mask or whatever you call that.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that before. It honestly almost looks like the bottom half of the Jason Voorhees hockey mask.
Yeah, it does.
With the mouth.
Yeah, it's very much hockey goalie mask, and it's made the same way. It's made in similar fashion. I got a little bit of write up on it, but yeah, this was cool when it came out. I remember seeing this movie in the theaters, and when he came out in that mask, it's like holy shit, it was creepy.
Yeah,
those eyes. I mean, Jesus, Anthony Hopkins' eyes.
Well, even so, watching him talk.
Yeah.
You know, through the little bars on the mask, it's, you know, I don't know. It's a creepy mask, and if you see somebody wearing that mask, there's a reason.
Yeah.
And knowing that he's a cannibal, you know, that's all the more reason for that mask to be creepy.
Just to protect you from being eaten.
Right. Yeah.
And so I did write. Let's see, costume designer Colleen Atwood had a whole host of ideas, and we just kept going through them one after the other. Anthony Hopkins would screen test with a variety of unsettling masks, some scary, others borderline ridiculous. For a while, there were thoughts of fencing, sort of a grid mask. However, none of those was it. So it was decided a mask would be created. The costume designer said, we got more to the idea of the fiberglass mask. The thought had been for the mask to have a finish on it. But when we received the final sample, it was raw fiberglass, which looked like an old piece of dried up leather or even skin. And it was so great. So we never went back for a paint job. So this is like the raw fiberglass finish, like what they got. I guess they originally wanted to paint it. And they were like, no, this looks pretty perfect.
Yeah, I like the way it looks. It looks old, like old world, you know?
Yeah.
It's really old looking, and yeah, Anthony Hopkins wears it well. Yeah, and plus pair it up with a straight jacket, and then they can't even trust the guy to walk. You know,
yeah, it's like wheeling him out there on a 2-wheeler.
Right? Yeah, you know he's a dangerous man. He's got that mask. He's tied to a furniture mover wheeler or whatever. Yeah,
love your shoes.
Yeah, I love your shoes. I love that. Yeah. All right, time for a break. And we'll talk about the Encyclopedia Satanica mask, which is on my wall. I think
you got the package of it, or
it's not. It's
you
can't see it because the damn light. It's over there. Well, also it's on you. Hold on. There we go. You can see it there, barely.
Yeah, there it is. I've got the original here.
Mine's signed by you and Mabry, but
okay.
So yours isn't. How about that?
Yeah,
yours might be the original, but mine's signed.
Yeah, mine's not signed by Justin, but it's made by Justin and painted by Justin. This was from my segment on the Volumes of Blood anthology, Encyclopedia Satanica. So the story behind it, I don't know if you have the picture of Kevin wearing it.
I got a couple.
You got a couple pictures. So Encyclopedia Satanica was a script written by a guy named Todd Martin, and I was asked by the producer PJ Starks if I wanted to direct a segment for this anthology. So he sent me 3 scripts. This was the 3rd one I read, and the only one I liked. And I said, all right, I want to do this one, but I need to rewrite it. And so when I rewrote it, I noticed that the movie had these 4 kids in a library telling stories, and the one that's telling my story is the main one that's gathered them there. And he says before they go to my scene, my story takes place on All Hallows Eve. I said, well, there was nothing in Todd's script about Halloween. So I rewrote all this Halloween stuff into it. And then Kevin had been cast as the villain, sort of a ghost demon kind of thing, and named Derek. And I said, well, I kind of want to give him a mask. I kind of want to do something with him. And I had been collecting all these Ben Cooper vacuum form masks from back in the day, and I had a devil mask, and I was like, I would love to use that, but you got to deal with copyright and all that. And the thing is, in hindsight, I could have used it because I was friends with Justin Mabry, and Justin and Trick or Treat Studios own all the Don Post stuff. So he said, oh, I could have just let you use the old mask. But I'm glad we got this because it gave us something unique and new and no one had made or had seen. And so Justin Mabry, he was a mask maker. He co-owned, co-created Trick or Treat Studios. And I was telling him about the film, and he said, well, I've got the materials and the machinery and everything to make vacuum form masks. I could do it if you want. I was like, well, hell, that would be awesome. So
That would be awesome.
he kind of he was lollygagging a little bit, I guess. So actually this mask was, he had sculpted, he had been working on years earlier, a sculpt of Jack Nicholson's Joker from Batman. So actually the basis of this is Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And he put the ears on, he put the horns on, he put the eyebrows on, he put the beard on. And then he painted, he changed it to be this. And then he painted it with neon paint and sent it to me. It's fucking gorgeous. And so the thought process was the characters pretending to be, it's a demon who's taken the persona of this girl's ex-boyfriend who killed himself. And he's actually a demon in disguise, and it's Halloween night. So I said, well, what if I put a devil mask on him as foreshadowing of him being a devil, And so I looked out by having one of the best mask makers out there make me a devil mask for Kevin to wear. And because, Justin made it for me, I said, well, if Trick or Treat Studios wants it, So that's why Trick or Treat Studios sells the mask. It's
really cool. And I got one because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was really cool to see, when I went out to LA and went into the big Halloween City store out there on Burbank to see that mask on sale with all the other masks. And
yeah, and you can generally find it at Horror Hound or Days of any of the horror cons. It's there. They have them.
Yeah,
I think it was $15 maybe.
Yeah, it's cheap. And then the other cool story about this is when the Deadpool 2 Christmas trailer came out, and they were recreating the Princess Bride sequence of Fred Savage sitting in the bed, and they were recreating his bedroom from Princess Bride. The mask, the Ben Cooper devil mask that I have, it's on my wall up here somewhere, that inspired me to do this was on Fred Savage's wall in The Princess Bride. But when they were recreating it, the art department went down to Burbank and bought this mask. So this mask is in the Deadpool trailer behind Fred Savage.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check out Volumes of Blood. I believe it is on Tubi for sure, and maybe Prime. It's an anthology horror film, indeed, independently created, and Nate's segment, Encyclopedia Satanica. It's the high point of the whole thing. So
I'm very proud of that one.
Yeah, I like that. Plus, Kevin Roach, he's Nate has him play Fred Krueger in his Confessions of Fred Krueger, which you can find on YouTube, which he's really good in that as well. Just good actor all the way around. I've seen him in a couple other things. One new was it New Fear's Eve? No, not New Fear's Eve. one of PJ's holiday
He's in that,
themed.
yeah. 'Cause he was in that one. I didn't see it yet. But
No,
I
it's not that one. It's the 13 Sleighs Till Christmas or something like that. You know how he likes wordplay.
maybe he's in the
So
sequel. Me and him got to act with each other, playing horror
that's
nerds.
right. That's
Uh,
right. The haters or something. What was it called? Would you guys call yourself?
Haters, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that
then
was a good segment.
and then he did Harvest Lake, but it was really good. Scott Shermer's movie. Him and Jason Crow have a little relationship in that. So, yeah,
Not, I think I have that, but I haven't seen it yet.
Harvest Lake's really good.
Yeah, I've heard.
One of the better.
I think I heard that from you, but
Yeah.
it's still a good recommendation. Number 15, and we can't find a good enough shot of the witch mask from Halloween 3, but it is the witch mask, which Nate also has.
Yeah.
And one of the things I like about this one is the hood.
Yeah. This was one of the pre-existing masks that Don Post had, and I think it was called Hagatha. It came out the year before the movie. It was 1981 mask. The hood was originally black when it came out, and for the movie, it's kind of a blue-green color. You can't tell here, but it's kind of a blue-green hood. But 1981 Hagatha, the witch mask, was only in production for about a year before the movie came out. Back then, the witch mask was known as Hagatha and had a much duller looking green paint, which looked like a mix of green and brown. The hood was also black. The Hagatha mask was only seen once or twice in the movie, where it appeared in the Silver Shamrock television commercial. The mask also appeared in the trailer as the screen zooms in on the mask and the spider crawls out of its mouth. The actual witch masks used in the movie were redesigned versions of the Hagatha, which were simply known as the Green Witch. The Green Witch mask had, true to its name, a green face with some barely noticeable yellow around the warts, and the hood was also a bluish green color instead of black. So yeah, it's a creepy thing. I always like drawing this one.
Yeah, it's really
Tried
cool.
a couple times.
Classic witch look. You know, we grew up with that iconography of the green witch with the crooked nose and the warts and all that stuff. It's a great look. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that mask. Next one up is from two movies. I think it's pretty much the same mask. This one's from the second movie
Yeah.
picture. Damien Maffei, who actually plays the devil in Haunt. So he's got two, kind of two connections to this list. But the man from the Strangers movies. This is 2 of 3 burlap looking sack masks on our list, but they're very effective.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3. I mean, the 3 masks in the movie are really cool. I like the black haired doll girl face mask.
Mhm.
I like that one. But there's something about this man, the man in the mask. Yeah, it's burlap, but it has like this very defined seam sewn down both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a form, and then I don't know if in this one, but it seems like I've seen it where it looks like the smile on it is painted on or drawn on, and then you got the eye holes. Yeah, I mean it's very simple, and again it kind of resembles a few other masks that are on our list, but definitely creepy image.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'll go back to that one of the early scenes in the first movie where you got the 2 girls with their kind of like cutesy doll masks, and then him standing in the middle with his shoulders up, and it's a menacing looking mask. And I think the thing that sets it apart from like The Town That Dreaded Sundown or Jason Sackhead or Dark Knight of the Scarecrow are the markings, in the mouth and everything. It's a pretty cool mask. I like it. It's very effective, and plus he's wearing a suit like a businessman, which is kind of different. So that is pretty cool. It's cool. Cool movies. I like both those movies also.
Another one shot like Haunt in Cincinnati area. The sequel was. I don't know the first one was, but the sequel was shot up there. I was going to go to the pool yesterday, but it was too dark, too late. So.
And the weather's not right for swimming.
No, I couldn't go swimming either.
Yeah. Anyway. Speaking of swimming, actually, it has nothing to do with swimming. Number 13 is from My Bloody Valentine, Harry Warden. In classic kind of gas mask look, but dude, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of this movie. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But
I'm
I like the get up, the whole get up and the mask and the mattock or
yeah.
pitchfork, whatever we call it.
I don't necessarily love the film either. I mean, and you know, this isn't really the first movie to have the gas mask because we kind of had it in the Crazies, George Romero's movie.
Mhm.
But the whole miner look is really cool. It's yeah, it's a creepy. Anytime you see gas mask, another one of my favorites is Dead Man's Shoes, the British film with Paddy Considine, which is kind of a horror movie. It was kind of it said when it came out, critics were saying redefining the slasher genre. It's one of my favorite movies of the early 2000s. And Paddy Considine is getting revenge on these guys who fucked with his handicapped brother when he was gone. He's a soldier and he comes back. And when he first shows up, he's wearing a gas mask and like a field jacket. Scares the shit out of this guy. And but yeah, there's something about a gas mask that is pretty terrifying. I mean, you know, Vincent Price wears one in Last Man on Earth. It's kind of a staple. We've seen it in a lot of things, but you add it with again the jumpsuit that Michael Myers wore with a belt and a miner's hat. It's effective.
Yeah, it is, and it's more effective than the mask worn in the Prowler, which came out the same year.
Yeah.
So number 12, we're getting closer to the top spot is the Leslie Vernon mask. Which do you have that one too?
I have it, but I forgot to grab it. I don't know. Yeah, I do have that one. Of course, I'm friends with the filmmakers, David, the writer, Scott, the director, Nathan, Angela.
Oh, I forgot to put up the comic that you sent the comic book pages. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
Just
problem.
realized.
Yeah, I sent you the when Scott and David asked me to do the comic version of the sequel because they couldn't get the money to make the sequel, sadly. But they really loved the script, and it was really good. It's just as good as the first movie, the movie Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. They felt the script was probably too dated at that point because they wrote it, you know, around 2008 or so. But they wanted to get it out, so they thought, "Well, just do a graphic novel." So I did a 6-issue run comic book version of it. And in it, it's kind of like Scream a bit, where there's a movie being made about the first movie, and but it's a Hollywood movie. So when they go to design Leslie, hold on, answer the message. You there?
Me or the phone?
It was my phone. Yeah. It was text.
Okay.
So
yeah, I
anyway,
do have the comic images now. I just uploaded them.
Okay. So what happened was they're making a movie, and the studio, of course, wants it like Leslie to be like a bigger guy, more muscular. So I had to design the movie version of Leslie Vernon, the Hollywood version. So I kind of gave him a bigger, like some more breaks and cracks in the mask, a little more mean look. Gave him a big jaw, and you know he's got these. So I got the pleasure to design, what the movie version of Leslie Vernon would look like, a movie within a movie. So that's him, and here that's towards the end of the comic where the real Leslie and the fake Leslie show off, and you know the guy's got like a plastic knife, you know, so it's a fun thing. You know, they actually have this big standoff, and but yeah, it was a fun project to work on. It's a shame the movie didn't get to actually get made.
That'd be a fun movie.
But yeah, it was I love Leslie Vernon. I think it's one of the most underrated horror films of the last 20 years.
I agree with you.
The character is called The Boy. So he's barefoot. He wears like these bib overalls and this kind of ratted out shirt. And the mask is just kind of like childlike, almost like unborn baby, almost a fetus kind of. It's a blue colored, like a blue coloring. It's got kind of hair strands on it. Big eyes. I dig it. You know, some people don't think the mask is all that great, but I love Nathan's performance.
Mhm.
I love everything about the movie. I think Nathan and Angela are incredible in it. I also think it's one of Robert Englund's better films, playing the Dr. Loomis
The
character.
Ahab.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because not long after this started making its rounds on, I think it was on Netflix in the early 2010s. Some pictures of Robert Englund started surfacing from this movie, and there were reports that he was going to play Dr. Loomis in a Halloween remake or something like that. I'm like, bitch, that's from Leslie Vernon.
Yeah.
Don't fall for this. And people were falling for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good role for him, and it's just an overall good movie. Plus, isn't Tangina in it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zelda Rubinstein is
Mhm.
the librarian. Kane Hodder has a brief cameo in front of the Elm Street house, like doing yard work.
Yeah.
So if people haven't seen that, God, you guys see this movie. It's a great satire on slashers.
Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, it's a guy that wants to be like Freddy, and he lives in a universe where Freddy and Jason and all these characters actually existed, and they're not supernatural. They're just really good at what they do. There's like a method of madness to being a slasher killer, a process, tricks, and sleight of hand, magician stuff, training, and he wants to be like them. And he spent years building up his mythos in this town of Glen Echo, and he's about to make his debut as Leslie, and he's hired this documentary crew to film him, but they just think he's crazy, and they're just amused by it until they realize he's legit. Like he really is going to do this.
But there's also more to it than just that, because it's definitely worth watching. It's a fun. Unfortunately, I think you'd have to buy it, which is not unfortunate because you'll be like, okay, good, I have this in my collection. And who did the art on Scream Factory? Was it
Joe Robinson, the cover for the Scream Factory release? I am in on the DVD because when we screened the movie and we did I went to LA and at Dark Delicacies, we did a signing for the comic, me and Angela and David and Ben, who played the cameraman, and Nathan. No, Nathan didn't show up. Nathan and Scott had to cancel for one was a weather situation, and the other was a family emergency, so they didn't get to come. But we did a signing, and then the next day we did a screening in downtown LA at one of the movie theaters, and we did a Q&A, and Sean Clark moderated us, and
from Horror's Hallowed Grounds.
And he actually brought Ryan and Andre from Monster Squad, so they were there watching the movie. So it was a good time, and I got to hang out with those guys, and really, really, Angela is such a sweetheart. I wanted to work with her. She was going to be in a new movie, but we weren't SAG, and she has to be SAG. But most people know her from Home Alone. I was
going to say she's what the French call les incompetents.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a really great movie. It just sucked, and the sequel would have had some really amazing stuff. Scott Wilson, one of my favorite actors, plays the mentor to Leslie in it, Eugene, and he's great in the movie. And he Scott or David said that his character is actually supposed to be a guy that was a slasher back in the 60s and 70s. But he goes, I never lived up to like Jason and Jay. He goes, Jay and Fred, they were real pros. Because I never did anything as big as them. But he was supposed to be Billy from Black Christmas and the killer from the Toolbox Murders. Like that was supposed to be who he is. But he doesn't. Like those characters never had really names. But according to the writers, that's who he was.
It's pretty cool. Definitely check it out if you can. But just buy it. It's worth it. It's definitely a great addition to the collection, even though Joel Robinson did the art. Next is number 11. That's from me, by the way. I say that. Number 11, newer movie, The Black Phone. And I really do like this mask and its variants because you can wear the bottom, just the top, or the whole thing. It's a really cool mask and it's creepy.
Yeah, I like to get it. Trick or Treat Studios sells that one. I think from the actual molds. And again, it has another Onibaba, the Hana mask
Mhm.
from Japan's No plays, um, which those masks are about to demonize. They were used to demonize the sinful emotions of jealousy and its associated emotions. And that's the thing about that mask, like it has these interchangeable bottoms to it, different mouths, one with this big grin, one with a frown, and one with no expression. And it plays in like the no mask were for theater in Japan, and the grabber, who's with the name of the kidnapper or villain that Ethan Hawke plays in the film, employs the mask to be sort of theater, and there's the different variations to represent the character to show different things that he's putting on for himself and for his victims.
Mhm.
It suggests that there's a motivation for the mask is that he uses it to hide from himself out of shame for his actions, and that his mask is utilized more to cover the grabber's own shame than his identity, because there's parts where he's not afraid of showing his face because he does, but he puts these on just part of his madness of what he's feeling or what his emotions are. So it's I didn't love the movie when I first saw it, but when I went back and watched it, I really liked it a whole lot more.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty good overall. I see your complaints, but that's for another episode, and that's for our 2020 through 2022 countdown that we did a couple years ago. Been 2 years now. Oh no, is it? No, last year.
I think it's a
Yeah.
movie I would even like even more every time I watch it. So yeah, I think because I think it was a movie that was hurt by the hype for me,
Mm.
and I hate that. I hate people say that like,
Right.
oh, it was just too hyped, and
No, that's a real thing, man.
it
It
is
is
a
a
real
real thing.
it's a real thing. But I think if you find yourself reacting that way, it's probably better to go back and look at it, because when we go to something that's hyped, we're expecting the moon.
Right.
And when we don't see the moon, we're like, that fucking sucked. What's everybody?
Mhm.
And it's almost like what's everybody? Like we start to feel better about ourselves. Like, oh, these people are idiots. They think this is great. Like, but the thing is, like, there is something there, but we deserve to give that movie another look. And that's really for all movies, because the way we see movies is dictated by so many elements that are out of our control sometimes. We just may not be in the mood for it that day, or we're tired, or our brain goes somewhere else, or we were expecting something else, and that's not what it was. And but I think this movie deserved the praise that it got. I think it's and Ethan Hawke was one of our best actors. Period.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I got to meet him. He was cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you got to meet him last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was directing a movie, Wildcat, here in Louisville and Shelbyville and Lexington, and about a writer from Kentucky. And it's got him and his daughter Maya plays the lead, plays the writer, and Laura Linney plays her mom, and Steve Zahn plays her dad, and it seemed like there were some other stars are in it. But I got to meet Steve and Ethan that day. They shot here on our courthouse steps.
Did that movie ever come out?
It's about to come out. I've seen noticed that it's coming out this year. I think later this year. Okay. This was just like last winter, so it's only been about a year since they shot here, or a little less than a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say I looked up Wildcat, and the first thing came up was something I've never heard of, and the Goldie Hawn Wesley Snipes film,
Wildcats,
from 1986. All right, so we got more Nate art here, or Nate, Atticus
Crow from this is from Volumes of Blood 2 Horror Stories, and this was the opening segment. Second one I directed. I did one called Fear for Sinners here. It was a Christmas segment. It doesn't have a mask in it, but this was the first one in the movie, and this character Atticus Crow. What this was, Murder Death Killer is the title. It was actually PJ's. PJ opened the first movie with a Friday the 13th spoof, an 80s slasher movie called Murder Death Killer, where it had a scarecrow killer who was basically a Jason Voorhees type character. And he wore a scarecrow mask, much like the Dark Knight of Scarecrow kind of thing.
Mm.
So when I was offered to do the sequel, PJ said, "Just do whatever you want to do." And so I was trying to think of possible stories to do, and I did start writing something called On the Dark and Bloody Ground, which became a feature that I did later. But once I realized I wanted
More
to
on
make
that
that
later.
a feature, I said, well, I need to come up with something else. And so I got the idea. I think it started maybe with the haters thing, with me and Kevin playing these guys bitching about modern horror movies.
Mhm.
Because I see online so many people bitching about horror movies, modern horror movies.
As you do still today.
And remakes, yeah. And so I thought, what if someone remade Murder, Death, Killer? And that's how we opened the movie, with the remake of Murder, Death, Killer, the original. Because the one in Volumes of Blood 1 was Murder, Death, Killer 3. So it was supposed to be a franchise. And so, well, what if I remake, like if Rob Zombie remade Murder, Death, Killer, the original 80s slasher movie? And so I did that, and I said, well, we would have to beef up, make the killer more big, and
kind of like the Leslie Vernon comic.
Yeah, like Rob Zombie. Yeah, exactly. And so I had to make the Scarecrow character. Well, PJ really didn't develop the character. He didn't have a name. He didn't have an origin. So I came up with this origin of they worked in a mill back in the Prohibition kind of era. And this guy, Atticus Crow, was one of the workers, and they were starting a union, and this was a corrupt place. And the people like made an example of him and murdered him and hung him up and did all these horrible things to him. So his ghost is haunting this mill or this warehouse, and these criminals break in to rob the place when it's going out of business of like raw materials and things. And Atticus Crow's ghost, this character, shows up, this kind of scarecrow. So I turned back to Justin Mabry. My original pitch was a scarecrow, but kind of like a sand person, but a steampunk scarecrow. So he has like sprockets and and metal pieces mixed in, and a chain and all that. So originally it was going to be more of a sackhead scarecrow thing, but with I drew pictures of like where you can see the nasty face underneath it, and the sprocket kind of eyeball and all this stuff. So, and like a spark plug, there's a spark plug I think in there. So Justin started making it, but when he went to put the burlap sack on, he was like, it wasn't working. So he said, what if I just cut strips and I glued it onto it? So that's what he did. So it gave me a really cool result.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, Justin Mabry.
Yeah, you get a good look at it here.
There's not got it here. The real
you
mask.
have it?
Yeah. So there's the mask.
I do think this could make a really cool movie. It's just unfortunately you don't have the ability to make this one.
Yeah. I loved the movie, and I loved the character, and it was fun to make it. It was my chance to make my Jason movie, because I totally handled it like I directed the guy to basically be Kane Hodder or CJ Graham kind of. It was a big bodybuilder, Eric Stanish, and I had a blast making that movie. Unfortunately, two of the actors, Tom and Warren, have passed. Here's us on the set. Me and Barbie. Barbie was one of the actors, and she did costuming. She did the costume for Atticus. And
he's big, because you're pretty tall.
He's a big guy. I'm 6'2", so he's probably 6'4", 6'5". Big muscle bound dude. It's one of my favorite moments is I didn't really know Eric. He was cast by. I had written the script, and then I wrote the script for Fear for Sinners here, and I fell in love with that. But Jacob was supposed to direct Fear for Sinners here. And when he read my script, he said he really loved it, but he wanted to do something more action-packed, more fast-paced, because Fear for Sinners here was more slow-moving. And so we switched. And then he was supposed to direct Murder, Death, Killer, and he cast a few people, and he cast Eric. And then he had to drop out, so then I became the director of both. And I recast the other three roles, but I kept Eric. And so I didn't really know Eric, but Barbie and I were communicating with Eric via emails and stuff. And Eric just had this habit of sending us photos of him working out. Like he would be in the gym and he would send us like, all this stuff. And so we kind of were laughing about it, about Eric sent us another photo of him stretching or posing, flexing. And so we show up on day one and we're at the warehouse location and all the actors and cat crew are showing up and we're in the parking lot. And all of a sudden here comes this big giant black truck with black tinted windows, just huge, with the big oversized tires up off the ground. And we just look, me and Barbie look at each other and go, this has to be Eric. And he gets out and he's got like a backward black hat like I do. He's got a black t-shirt on, blue jeans, jacked. And his shirt says Pussy Destroyer on it. We just could not. I mean, we had to keep from laughing. It's just like, of course. And I think like looking back now, it's like, can you imagine him? This was like 2016 when we shot that, or 2015, 2016. Can you imagine a guy showing up on a set today where
I know
Destroyer on his shirt?
When you go through, that's before the Me Too movement and everything. Yeah. I'm sure people do still wear stuff like that, but
but he was a really nice guy. I'm painting this picture, but he was actually really cool. Very, and that mask is not easy to wear. And we were shooting it. I think we shot it in October, September, in a hot warehouse. But it was a blast shooting that movie. And again, I got to work like I kind of look at it as making my Jason movie, but more of the Jason Lives, because there's a bit. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that was a blast, and I love the mask. I think Justin killed it with that mask.
It looks cool, and I'm disappointed that we didn't get more of it, but who knows? Back to our countdown for number 10 is from your next underrated film.
Oh yeah,
The Lamb Mask. It's more really cool looking masks.
Yeah, I had these masks. I bought because they were cheap. They were the tiger was a Ruby's mask, and then there's a fox and sheep. This is the lamb, whatever. And they were made by a company called Forum Novelties. So there's these cheap vacuform masks that they painted all white with little pink and gray accents, so they all matched. But I ended up buying them when the movie came out, and I painted them myself to look like the movie. And I ended up trading them because back when I was collecting all my Freddy shit, a lot of it was trade stuff. People would either get art from me or they would. There were two guys. There's another mask on our list that I was asked to trade, which I hate that I traded it. But somebody wanted the three Your Next mask and knew I had them. So part of the trade for something I got Freddy based was to give these up. And I see the tiger, the Ruby's one, but the two Forum ones, this one and the fox, I don't see. And the fox and the sheep are my favorites of the three. It's between this and the fox or the wolf. I guess wolf or fox. They never really established what it is. But
I thought it was a fox. I don't know.
Yeah, but I really love them. They're really creepy, and I think the director, what's his name, Adam Wingard, said Michael Myers was inspiration. That's why they're white, And the other big thing when this movie came out, Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family came on WWE, and one of the characters, Eric Rowan, is a cult. Bray Wyatt, great character. He just recently passed away last year. Sadly, he was a very talented guy, but they were kind of this kind of Southern cult of three guys, and Bray was the leader and the talker, kind of almost a demented preacher type, and one big guy named Eric Rowan, and he had like a green jumpsuit like Michael Myers, but he wore that mask, the sheep mask, and so. They were also selling at WWE. People were wearing those in the crowd, these masks. But I think they kind of coincided. They both came out about the same time. But yeah, I love the look of these. They're almost like they kind of almost play like they're assassins, like they were sent there, like the way they're all like hunters. I guess they're hunters. I mean, it doesn't say it's like the taglines about they're hunting. and they all have like crossbows and
Yeah, I mean,
stuff like
you
that.
get that. Well, yeah, without
We don't,
spoiling anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
without spoiling anything. We
Mhm.
haven't done this movie, have we?
I don't know. This is. Let me look real fast because I love this movie,
Yeah.
and I don't think we have done it. And I know Seth when he's here, um, he talks about home invasion movies being his like more terrifying thing because it's like
Oh
more
yeah.
realistic.
Yeah, I love home
Um,
invasion movies. Made a couple.
right. Let's see. I don't think we have ever. I don't think any horror syndicate show has ever talked. We may have talked about it in passing or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know that we have. I don't. I don't. I typed in on horror syndicate. You're next,
I
and
think we
I'm.
brought it up and like maybe we did an episode where we talked about songs and movies, and I think we talked about the song in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Dwight Twilley.
yeah.
Movie opens. I love that song.
Yeah.
And the thing is, now my kids love that song.
Yeah, I do too. I like it.
Yeah, and it's got Larry Fessenden.
Fessenden
He's only in it for a minute, but
Barbara
yeah.
Crampton, the mom.
Barbara
and
Crampton's in it. Yeah,
Ty
Ty West
West.
plays it. Yep. Yeah. So, well, I think Ty West and Adam Wingard are kind of close because they're in the late 2000s, early 2010s. They were in the VHS film.
Oh
They got
yeah,
that
there's
segment.
like this little group, and the guy that
Yeah.
played his brother, shit, I can't remember the older brother, the kind of smarmy guy. He's a filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
Can't
Yeah,
remember his name, but he worked
looks
with
like Dexter. That guy.
yeah, he worked with Greta Gerwig, and like
Mhm.
they're all part of that mumblecore group.
Yeah,
of people.
the wasn't the younger brother in House of the Devil. That is not the younger brother, but the one.
AJ Bowen, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they're all like they were all kind of this kind of
That little section of horror, you're talking like 2009, 2008 to about 2013 before they started getting bigger because of course Wingard's making Godzilla, King Kong movies now,
yeah.
and Ty West is doing his thing with X and all that and Pearl. But yeah, there was like a little pocket of time where these indie filmmakers were making some cool ass movies, and Your Next fits right in there.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
just remember on the commentary for VHS, the first movie,
mhm.
which Adam did, I think the wraparound on it.
Yeah.
But, like the only people on the commentary were Adam and like the people who made Your Next in
Mhm.
his segment, and almost the whole commentary is them talking about Your Next. Wait till this because it hadn't come out yet. It was just this hype of Your Next.
Your Next is one of my favorites from that last decade, for sure. It's top 5 for me, if I'm not mistaken. It's right up there with Evil Dead.
It's good.
Just saying. Number we're not.
Love the trailer. I love the trailer with the Lou Reed.
I don't know that I've ever actually seen the trailer.
That's a perfect. It's a
I'll
Lou
watch
Reed's
it.
Perfect Day. It's a great
Yeah.
trailer. Yeah.
No, so back then I would go to Family Video, and they'd always have a section of movies that was like $3 and below, and I found that House of the Devil and VHS and a bunch of these by these filmmakers there, and I was like, oh, lucky me, a bunch of horror movies I've never heard of. Went home and watched them all and loved them. So yeah, Magnet Releasing made a lot of those. They released a lot of those movies, is what it was. So yeah, I'll have to watch the trailer now, even though I've seen the movie, a lot. Good movie. Check out Your Next if you've never seen it. Make it the next movie you see. Or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No, I had to replace this image too because the one you sent me was like low quality. Yeah, but it's the Pretty Woman mask from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I feel like almost might be the one people more know. This isn't a great shot because you can't see the eyeshadow, and then the makeup. But
yeah, this is I bought this mask, like a good replica of it, on eBay, and then I threw it away because whoever owned it like smoked, and it just reeked of cigarette smoke, like to the point where I couldn't do anything about it. It was like it took my breath away. It was so bad.
That sucks.
Yeah, and I just threw it away. I was like, I can't even keep this in the house. It's gonna get everywhere. But I need to get a new one. There's a guy on my page that I just came across, a young guy he makes these, and it's the best I've ever seen. And he uses Bob Burns' original technique. So they're not cheap, but totally when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, man, that's the best Pretty Woman remake like fan made mask I've
Yeah,
seen.
go see Tots make one that just their
Yeah.
Leatherface masks don't look great to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I need to get the chainsaw. They got the chainsaw.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah.
But anyway, I did write something down about the Pretty Lady one. Of course, it was created by the art director Bob Burns for the movie. It's known as the Pretty Lady mask, so named because it is decorated with grotesque lipstick, eyeshadow, and horrendous black wig. I don't know if everybody, definitely when I was younger, I didn't notice it, but he wears 3 different masks in the movie to represent his different personalities. He's got the killing mask in the beginning, where he's killing people, butchering, and all that. Then he's got the grandmother mask that he wears where he's making dinner. And then he's got his pretty woman where he's dressed up for dinner and got his suit on and everything. So let's see, the Bob Burns reportedly made the masks from fiberglass material, which is no longer manufactured, in latex. Burns has claimed that there were no duplicates made of either prop. In an email received shortly before Burns' death, the artist said, "I was amazed to find out this mask was still in existence. I had thought it had been discarded 25 years ago. It's always a thrill when my work pops up somewhere like this." The mask, along with several other key props, was kept in a storage room in Austin, Texas until it was abandoned by the renter. At that point, the contents of the storage room were sold on a blind bid basis to a furniture store in Austin. From there, the contents were acquired by Ed Neal, the hitchhiker, who has kept possession of them until co-signing them to his auction. According to Neal, this mask really creeped me out, and the first time I saw it on set, Bob Burns did such a great job creating it, and Gunnar Hansen really brought the thing to life, even more than the killing mask. This is the face that still gives me nightmares. I hate to part with this, but I have faith that it will find a good home with some devoted fan. The mask, which is mounted on a styrofoam head form, is in delicate condition and has not received any conservation or restoration work of any kind. It has been authenticated by both the creator Bob Burns and by Ed Neal.
Jeez.
So imagine that, like it was in some storage locker in Austin, and the guy just didn't pay. I don't know who it was, but like some furniture store buys it and gets all these props. And thankfully Ed Neal, it ended up in his hands, and like people didn't like toss it or throw it away. But I'd hope like everybody in Austin, Texas, knows the lineage of this movie. Like when I was in Austin, there were, like the sets I had to go to were the Texas Chainsaw Massacre locations. It's cool that they are preserving that. The gas station is like a museum and a horror store now. And the house is a restaurant, and the new owners, for what I understand,
is it just a restaurant? Or is it a B&B?
It's a restaurant. Yeah, we went and had breakfast there when we were like a year or two ago. Yeah,
that's a place I've always liked to go. And I know that for the second movie, a lot of those sets are gone. At least there's still some from. And think about it; it's over 50 years old at this point.
Yeah. Mask
as well. It's a great mask to have on the list for sure. Top 10.
Yeah, I need to get it.
Yeah, while you were talking, I looked up the Pretty Woman mask on Trick or Treat Studios. For $60, it's not bad, but it's just not that great of a representation of that mask. Their Michael Myers masks look way better than that before doctoring them. And this one, I don't think I know you've seen you doctor a lot of masks and make them look a little bit better. This one you might not be able to.
They're Myers masks. I don't know about all of them, but like the iconic Kirk masks are sculpted by Justin Mabry, who did the mask I was talking about. And Justin kind of became I became aware of Justin when he was going by Night Owl back in the day as a fan making. He made these Myers masks, and he's still, I think, considered the best guy to make them, and the Myers mask. And I don't think it's official, but I think it is in the credits. He's the one that sculpted the Myers mask for the 2018 movie to make it look like the Kirk mask. And I don't know if he did. I don't think he did the Leatherface stuff. I first came across him when he did those, and he did Kane Hodder's makeup from Part 7. He did a mask of that, which was phenomenal. The John Carl Beechler makeup.
He's from where I live.
Justin is?
No.
Oh,
John Carl Beechler, yeah.
Beechler.
Yes, sir. One of the few cool things about living around here. All right. Number 8 is from Halloween 3, the last one from Halloween 3, our favorite, the Jack-o'-lantern pumpkin mask, which Nate has as well. Have you put all these on too?
Yeah, I think I wore this one on Halloween once. No, actually, I wore the skull on Halloween once because I dressed like Chalice. I had a members only jacket and a sweater.
That's awesome.
So yeah, my nephew was, I can't remember what he was dressed up as, but I just threw that on because I thought it was easy. Yeah, but this is my favorite. This is cool. And I did. I think I got these 3 masks from Trick or Treat Studios because I did some work. I did their brochure once, the cover for their brochure.
Working for masks.
Well, I got paid, but that was part of my negotiations. Like, can I get those masks too?
Yeah, no doubt. They're all right. I mean, it's almost $200 in value. So they're really cool masks. They're I like Trick or Treats what they've done. I mean, I only have the Myers mask and of course your Encyclopedia Satanica devil mask. But yeah, then this one, of course, we get to see is his name Little Buddy? I can't ever remember the kid's name.
I forget.
Yeah, in the movie, what happens when the big countdown, big giveaway happens, and they use this mask, which is great, and it's messed up, to say the least.
I did write some stuff about this one. Of course, Don Post mask, the one of the 3 that didn't exist. It was made for the movie. These masks sold for $25 retail at the time. It says Don Post said our masks are for an adult market, 13 to 35-year-olds. Although Don Post Studios was successful with masks of monsters from Universal movies in the 1960s, according to Mr. Post, the masks from Halloween 3 are the first to be exactly the same as those featured in a movie. In fact, they were made from the same mold. So basically saying, I guess Halloween 3 was the first time where fans could go and buy the actual mask from the actual movie, like the mold, not just a replica or remade or whatever. Because the masks are so significant, the movie, they could become a cult item with fans wanting to wear them when they go see the movie. In Southern California, children who color advertisements of the mask can accompany to their parents on a Universal Studio tour free. On the tour, Don Post will give mask-making demonstrations. The Jack-o'-lantern was created for Halloween 3. The pumpkin mask, which was called Pumpkinhead in 1982-83 catalog, was made for the movie. The copies used in the movie were some of the same masks that were sent to Halloween retailers in 1982. So you were likely to have picked up a screen-used copy if you bought one at retail. The original pumpkin masks were painted using powder Day-Glo paint, something that was found to be hazardous in the workplace, and hence why you won't find any modern mass-produced masks using that type of paint. One big difference that you may notice between some of the pumpkin masks used in the film is that some pumpkins had the edges of the eyes, nose, and mouth painted orange, whereas others had the edges painted black. I was informed by Rob and Kathy Tharp that the original plan was to keep the edges orange, but to paint them black if there was ever any other overspray. Another interesting bit of trivia is that a small silver shamrock was sculpted onto the right side of the pumpkin mask before it was decided the mask would have the silver shamrock computer chip discs. The silver shamrock was later removed from the pumpkin, so most of the pumpkins made after filming do not have the shamrock. However, most of the pumpkins used in the film had the shamrock sculpted on the side.
That's interesting. It's a cool mask, and I'm glad Trick or Treat Studios. The Trick or Treat Studios that they have the shamrock on the back of them.
Yep.
They have the decal or whatever.
Yeah.
Not decal.
Got right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. All right, let's move on to number 7. The Mask from Halloween Kills.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the only one of any sequel that made the list because I like seeing some kind of wear and tear on the mask, and from the fire at the beginning of the movie and the end of Halloween 2018.
The Trick or Treat Studios, which they have, the molds from the movies, so you're getting the real thing. Of course, you get the mass-produced paint job, so I rehauled this one. But I love this sculpt. I mean, it's just the David Gordon Green masks. All 3 of them to me are phenomenal. But this is my favorite. I just thought it was perfect with the charring and the black and the breaking and all that. So it's a beautiful mask.
Yeah,
Creepy as
I
hell.
I agree. It's the best of the 3. I was cool. Like when they brought out the mask for 2018's Halloween, I was like, oh, cool. It's aged, it's weathered, it looks cool. Finally, we get something like that. I mean, I know Rob Zombie's movies did that too.
Yeah.
But with the fire, you can see the hair's melted a little bit. It looks great, and I like that they were able to do something a little bit different. And each movie had a different look for the mask. And Halloween Ends had
the
the mold and
cobwebs and stuff on it or whatever. Yeah, it was. I loved it. We got the different looks, and then in this movie as well, you got the recreation of the original,
and it looks amazing.
Scenes. Yeah, really nailed it.
So you got 4 different versions of Michael's masks in these 3
and
movies.
You get the 3 Silver Shamrock.
That's right. Yeah,
movies, so
they paid a lot of homage to the all the movies. Yeah. Well, not all the movies. Well, they did actually. I mean, with little, Easter eggs and such every now and again. Number 6, we'll move on to Dr. Decker from Nightbreed. This mask is creepy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's buttons for eyes, almost like a zipper mouth.
It's laced up in the back. Again, there's other movie masks like it. It's got a burlap sack kind of vibe about it, like a scarecrow kind of look. The button eyes, like Sam has button eyes. So yeah, but I used to have this one. It's one of the ones I had to trade away for something Freddy related. So it's it was a fan made one. I mean, Trick or Treat Studios sells a replica of it. I need to just get another one because I just love this one. I love this mask. It's my favorite. I know Clive Barker, I think, was a little disappointed that the marketing team kind of pushed this because Decker really isn't like a main character in the movie, and he felt that it made the movie look like a slasher film.
Yeah.
And it does. I mean, he's a slasher character. And I remember it was really creepy because I think not only does he look creepy, but I think one of the creepiest things about it, and I don't know if it was his decision or not, Clive's decision, but David Cronenberg's got such a calm, quiet voice that coming from that face was extra creepy because it was so calm and kind, almost how Cronenberg sounds.
You're right, and that's something like Freddy's voice is kind of gruff and and even the Scream you got the deep voice, and it's the soft that makes it worse in a way,
because he's a psychiatrist, so he's supposed to be someone who's like that, and I remember going back to Girl Number 3 when we did Girl Number 3, the director cast this guy named Todd to play the main guy behind the mask. And I remember Todd didn't have a very intimidating voice. He kind of had more of a, not a scary voice.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was kind of like, I don't know about him. And then I thought about it and I immediately thought of Dr. Decker. I was like, it worked with Decker. It's going to work to have that emotionless face, white mask, and have that voice, that type of voice behind it. And it does. It was creepier. It was a little sleazier.
Yeah.
With a voice that was not, stereotypical.
Yeah, because you do get those voices that the horror villain or just the villain in general got this, kind of deep voice or gravelly sounding voice or something like that. Like
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees' voice. It's no, he doesn't talk. No, yeah, it actually makes that. It almost makes you want to see a movie where he is the killer throughout the whole movie, and not of Nightbreed stuff. But he's in Nightbreed. I'm not a big fan of Nightbreed. That's Seth. Seth loves that movie, but The Mask is really awesome.
Yeah.
Moving on to Nate's number 5, and it's his current project. Go ahead. It's your.
Yeah. I'm not gonna give too much away because it's not out yet. But my latest film, feature film, On a Dark and Bloody Ground. This is a character actually played by my nephew, Hunter Hyatt.
Is that him?
That's him in the movie, and this character's name is Lost John. Lost John. There's origins to that name, but I don't think I ever mentioned it in the movie. But the movie's all about Kentucky folklore and legends and violence and history in Kentucky, because the Native Americans called Kentucky the Dark and Bloody Ground. And Lost, there's actually, they were found all over the world, but there's these mummies that were found in Kentucky, in Lexington and Mammoth Cave, these big giant red-headed people, remains. And there was one of them has been given a nickname, Lost John, as a boy. So I gave him that name. And I won't go into who he is or what the character is or what, but I put a mask on him. And one of the first images I drew for this movie when I wrote it in 2015 was a kind of almost a Sam-like drawing. I always liked the sack head, burlap sack look. I always thought it was creepy. And it's very primitive. It's also very Southern lynch mob kind of roots to it. And so I kind of started playing with the sack head. And basically I just made this out of a cheap white t-shirt I bought from Walmart. And I have the screen used one here. But it was supposed to be something that a kid could make because he's a young guy. And this is a actual mask, but it's just a cheap t-shirt with some wire in there, and I stitched it up. I just kind of experimented, and I bought a button and used it as an eye, and then it got a eye hole, and then a drawn on mouth, and something. And then I gave him ears because he's kind of like supposed to be animalistic in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like chicken wire and more stuff sewn on and cloth, and it's tied in the back, But this is Lost John's in the new movie. And so I can't get too much away about it, but I think it's a cool, creepy mask.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the movie.
Yeah. There's another character. There's a few other people wearing masks. All of them are based on the sack kind of head mask thing. But that's the one on the poster is Lost John.
Lost John.
Yeah.
So speaking of sack masks, back to our list with number 5. The Phantom Killer from Texarkana. Town Dreaded Sundown. Underrated movie.
Oh, yeah. One of the greatest titles ever for a horror movie.
True.
And based on a true story, very documentary style. The Phantom Killer in Texarkana. He attacked 8 people, I believe. They were like Lover's Lane type thing. They called it the Moonlight Murders. It was just a guy, like a 6'1" guy, and like with a gun and the sack over his head with 2 eye holes, and he killed 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Some like 3 of them lived, I guess.
Yeah, a few of the people lived to tell the tale.
Yeah. And they never caught him. It's like one of those Jack the Ripper, Zodiac lore things.
And the best part is he could have been somebody in the community.
Yeah.
I mean, not the best part because that's terrifying, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, small Texas town.
Right. And the best one of the, I mean, the end is so good because the thing that separates him from getting caught, because I think they shoot him in the leg. I don't know if they did in real life, but you know, he gets the train stops them from catching him, and he kind of paces there for a minute and just disappears and is never seen it again,
Yeah.
which is really great.
And of course, we got this same look and stuff in Friday the 13th Part 2, which I always loved
Mm-hmm.
Jason's look with that.
Sackhead Jason.
Yeah, Sackhead Jason, I really like. But this did it first, so this gets
Yep.
this place. And also, I love the way it looked in the remake, the Sackhead Jason. I preferred it to the hockey mask in the remake.
It looked awesome in the remake, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the Sackhead thing just works, and I like when I used it. Definitely, this movie was in my head, and Jason, but also, you know, a lot of the lynch mobs back in the old West time, you know, would just throw a sack on. I mean, the early, unfortunately, the early KKK, you know, would throw that shit on their head. If you see Quentin Tarantino's movie, you know, Django Unchained, they're wearing the
I
sack.
was going to mention that.
Yeah,
his wife was nice enough to make.
No, we don't have any more masks. Ungrateful sons of bitches. My wife was up all night making
Yeah.
them. And I was like, when Don Johnson puts it on, he's like, I can't fucking see shit in this thing. I can't see fucking shit.
Yeah, that's a great scene in Django. Yeah, I would say, have you seen the I don't know what to call it. It's not really a remake because it's aware of the original movie. Came out in like 2014. Time of the Dread Sundown.
Oh, the remake.
Yeah, I don't know if I can call it a remake
because it's supposed to be the original movie exists.
Like meta.
It's like a copycat killer, right? Or
Yeah.
it's supposed to be maybe the original guy that was never caught.
Kind of doing it the same way.
Yeah.
It's a Blumhouse. It's a good
it was
one. I like it.
I thought it was decent.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. This is where we're probably gonna get any kind of trouble if there is any. Number 4 through 1. We got the Scream mask, and it's just all encompassing because they're basically the same. This is obviously a picture from Scream 6 and the original Billy Loomis mask, just a few years older. But it's basically the same mask. I mean, Michael Myers mask kind of is too, but
yeah, I mean, with this, I mean, in the Scream collecting community, they would probably scream if you said, "Oh, they're all the same," because they are different, because they redo them. There's slight differences. I mean, the story was originally, you know, that I think it was the location scout was out looking for locations and went to was at this house, and this mask was sitting on a bedpost in one of the houses, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And it was made by a company called Fun World.
Fun World, yeah.
In the early '90s, it was part of a series called The Fantastic Faces, and there were a few. And this one's called, or was known as, the Peanut-Eyed Ghost. And it was supposed to be like a whaler ghost face. And anyway, like they liked it, and Wes Craven dug it, but they didn't want to pay for the rights to it, so they asked KNB to sculpt their own, and they did, and you could see it, the one that KNB made in the Drew Barrymore scene, and I think in the scene where the principal has it on, Henry Winkler puts it on, but it's not good. The one that KNB made, it just doesn't look as good. And I think so. Finally, they're like, I think they were trying to get the Fun World one, but they needed to shoot, so they used that one until the deal went through, and they were able to. Hold on. I gotta take a break real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, put me on hold.
So yeah, if you message the Facebook page for the Horror Syndicate, please message with a purpose. Don't just start sending me stuff, please. Somebody keeps sending me a picture of Chucky, then saying Chucky 4, Chucky 2, and it's really annoying. So please don't do that. Yeah, I don't have as much information as Nate does, but the Scream, you got to admit, the Scream mask is iconic, and yeah. It's number 4 on our list. I don't know if I should move on to the next one, but I can do a quick recap of what we've seen so far. Because the next three are the most iconic. If anybody's watching out there, let us know what you think number 1 is. Number 30 is Farmer Vincent from Motel Hell. 29 is from The Collector, Night of the Scarecrow, Dark Night of the Scarecrow. The Hills Run Red. Paranoiac is number 26. John dies at the end. Everything okay, Nate?
Yeah, I just got a text message that like somebody bought something at Walmart on my card. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't buy nothing. It's late. I thought my wife was in bed, but she did. She's in bed buying shit. So.
Oh.
She's usually asleep by this time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll get back to that. So anything else about the Scream mask?
Let's see. I mean, not really. I just talk about I remember seeing Scream for the first time, and what was cool was they didn't show Ghostface in the trailer at all. I don't know if like younger fans know that, but we didn't know what Ghostface looked like, what the killer looked like from the original marketing. It wasn't on the poster. It wasn't in the trailer.
Close up of Drew Barrymore's face screaming, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, you're watching that opening scene and you see Drew Barrymore looking in and you just see him moving through real quick. And you're like, what the fuck was that? Or he runs, he darts through.
Yeah. And
then the first time you see it's where she's looking at the window and he just turns around and looks at her like, bam, right there and breaks through the window. And so it was different. It was just kind of like, I don't know if we'd ever seen a movie where the killer is wearing a cheap Halloween costume, full bodied. Like usually it's like they have a mask, but they have like their flannel shirt on or their jacket or their, whatever jumpsuit. But this character has like a cloak and like streams hanging down and like in a hood and it's sparkly and then this basic white face mask, and it was just so unique and different.
I mean, it looks like something you can buy at every Five and Dime in the state.
Yeah, which is what was creepy about it, because like you could. It was like, oh, you're going to buy that at a dollar store for Halloween.
Yeah.
Like it was.
And
cheap.
now you can.
Yeah, and it was. And I have it. I don't have it here, but I couldn't find it. But I have that mask. I bought it probably I bought it when the movie came out. I don't even know if I have. I could have a Fun World one somewhere, and it's probably worth tons of money. But I just remember how unique it was, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that mask sucks, and the costume sucks. It's not scary. It's goofy looking." But the interesting thing about Ghostface is, at this point, he should be in the same conversation as Freddy, Jason, and Michael, and all that. But I don't think some people still include him. But I think he's become just as iconic.
I wonder if it's because it's multiple people.
Yeah.
A single character, because I agree with you. I think Ghostface is top 5 or 6 slasher villains for sure.
It was just cool. And then pushing that whole how easy it is and accessible the mask is when we open part 2 and the whole theater's full of them.
Yeah.
It's really creepy because you don't know who. And they really play on that. The killer's right there with them. Mickey's there in the costume killing somebody and no one would ever know. And
that's favorite Scream 2.
Yeah.
Not mine. So that's number 4. Number 3, second appearance on the list, Leatherface, and his first mask, the Killer Mask.
Oh yeah,
it's an ugly mask.
It's so cool. I got it.
Right. That's what I'm. But when I say it's an ugly mask, I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah. You mean it? Right. Yeah, like I have a replica. I don't remember who made this one. It's not the Tots. Got a lot of detail in it. Got eyelashes and.
Did you wear that for your thing? Your video?
Oh yeah, the video I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fucking love the Leatherface, and I think it's the way Bob made them. It's so because again, it was like, well, this one was molded from one of the producers, Bill Parsley. He made a mold of this guy's face, and used liquid latex and fiberglass insulation to make it, and stretched it to look like, and it's supposed to be really thin to look like flesh.
Yeah.
And then he's got all these little things like these metal pieces in it and all this to kind of shape it and give it this form.
Mm-hmm.
And there is just something so upsetting about it. And then, with Gunner's performance through it. And you got like this hit on the forehead where whoever that face was like hitting the head with his sledgehammer. And that's why you got that hole in the head on the top. And, but anyway, I wrote down something here about, let's see. All right. So this was about the guy who bought the mask. He bought it online, I think. Who has it now, maybe? He said, when I got the mask, I was told that he got it from Bob Burns and that Bob had it in a shoebox in his closet for many years up until he sold it to the guy. And when the guy got it, Bob had sprayed it with some kind of sealant to preserve it. He sprayed it onto a styrofoam head, and when it dried, it became rock hard and is now stuck on the head, so you can't remove it. I wanted to take it off, but off there and place it on a glass head in its new case, but I can't. So it will forever remain on this crappy looking styrofoam head. The mask is very scary looking now because it really looks like real dead pieces of skin. Bob made it so thin in some spots it almost looks like see-through. He did a great job on making it look real. The mask is in my home. I don't take it anywhere. It's on a shelf in the living room that I built for it so everyone can see it. When I first seen the mask, I was disappointed because I thought, how could anyone let it go like that, and why one didn't steal it right away? It made me mad because that mask, everyone knows it, and it's so important. So he's angry that it wasn't preserved. And, is in bad shape, which I've seen. I think people have seen the photos of it, the way it looks now. It doesn't look like this, but at least it's still there. Of course, the mask was inspired by Ed Gein, the whole wearing the flesh of people. Ed Gein, the serial killer, was arrested in 1957, inspired Norman Bates and Leatherface.
It's that one movie that Bob Clark made,
Deranged,
yeah.
Which is far closer to Ed Gein.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed, they found faces, death masks that he had cut off either his victims or there's a lot of speculation about Ed Gein. Like he was only arrested or convicted of 2 murders. Bernice Worden was the one that he got caught after killing her, and then he had killed Mary Hogan a few years earlier, who was a bar tavern owner, and they found her face in his house and her skull, and they found a few other death faces. And the thing was that he would go out dressed up like the women, and he was obsessed with his mother, and he would dig up bodies, and he would wear the women's chests or their crotches, and he would go out howling at the moon at night, pretending to be a woman, probably pretending to be his mother, trying to keep her alive because he couldn't get to her. From what I understand, he wanted to dig up her body like Norman Bates did with his mother, and he couldn't. I think she was buried in like the concrete, like he couldn't get to her body. So he would murder or bury. He would look at the obituaries and dig up women locally who resembled his mother and take pieces of them. And he read all these crazy men's magazines about headhunters and cannibals and stuff. And he was just insane. And he would do all these horrible things and play around with dead bodies. And there's a lot of speculation that he probably killed more people than they know. A lot of missing persons cases that were unsolved. Some people attribute that it could have been Ed that did it. So that's where this comes from.
Likely was, if you think about it. Why
And-
wouldn't it be? You know.
Oh, yeah, and Hooper had family who lived up in Wisconsin where Gein was arrested and caught, and he used to hear the stories about a guy who would wear people's faces, and that's where it just kind of stuck with him from childhood. And when he started to make Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it popped up into his head. Oh yeah, that guy in Wisconsin.
Good old Ed Gein. Number 2. Jason Voorhees masks, Friday the 13th. For me, I kind of had to pick a middle ground because I like the Part 7 mask quite a bit. The Part 6, they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
We went with Part 4, the Final Chapter mask, worn by the late great Ted White.
Yeah.
And this was the only movie that the mask goes through massive changes from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Because I've got my mask, what's on the wall is still from the beginning. It's not battle damage as you were. That's the shower scene there. Which one do you have?
Yeah. This one's, I think, based on. I made this one, and this is based on that shower scene. I think that's the best it looks. But yeah, that's the cool thing about that movie is that the mask goes through battle damage.
Yeah, look at the nose.
Yeah, like it gets more and more scraped. The chevrons on there are getting lost. You've got the axe hit from Part 3, and then all these different scratches. And it was really fun to make this mask, and that's why this one's become my favorite. Like when I made all of the masks, I started buying blanks on eBay and then like making them and trying to match them. And I used to love the Part 7. That was always my favorite look. And but the more when I started making them, I was like, I really love the Part 3 one and or the Part 4 one, which is basically the Part 3 one, just with more damage and it's, like you said, the nose is the paint's scratching off of there, and there's all kinds of scratches, all this very distinct stuff. But yeah, I love how. But by the end of this movie, like the chevrons are completely gone, I think, or at least maybe just
pretty close. Yeah,
I think the cheek ones are gone, definitely. Which also, like, it doesn't really logically make sense. Like, you would, I mean, what's he doing with his face that all those things are getting scraped off?
Especially the nose. Like, at what point? Because nobody really puts up a fight. He's not running into things, you know. But
so there's no logic behind the wear and tear of the mask in the movie. I mean, unlike Part 6, where a lot of where it gets shot in the head and the propeller from the boat hitting his jaw, tearing it up. So you get in Part 7, you get the jaw missing, but the bullet hole's gone in Part 7. I don't know how Buechler missed that.
That's
part.
the one thing he missed.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. Yeah,
but I think the makeup had the bullet hole in it, though, right?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. I like the Part 6 mask the best, and I wanted to ask this question: do you think Tommy made that?
The Part 6 mask?
Yeah,
I guess he had to, right? But
because I think, you see those buttons at the bottom part? Those are gone in the Part 6 mask.
Yeah, the mask is different. I mean, they changed very much, and the Part 6 mask is flatter, wide. I have a replica. I have 2 of those. I made one, and then I have one that my buddy Duke made. That's really good. He's really good at doing this.
The other question I have is, do you think that maybe he repainted the Roy Burns mask? Because he did leave off with that mask.
Yeah.
Part 5, so
possible. Because
it's a very similar shape to the Roy Burns, which I really like that mask.
Yeah, I do like that one.
Yeah.
Just the variety of the blue chevron.
But you can't get, there's only one mask that's more iconic than this one in horror history, in my opinion.
I do have some stuff about the hockey mask, because I wanted to do some research. Did you know how they came across doing the hockey mask? Like, why they put that on them?
I've heard numerous stories, but
the story was that the third movie had the 3D, and the guy that did the 3D effects supervisor, Martin J. Sadoff, was a big hockey fan, and he had a bunch of hockey gear in his studio, and they were doing a lighting test, and he grabbed the Red Wings goalie mask to just use for lighting
Hmm.
as a test. And I guess Stephen Miner saw it and loved it. All right, so they ended up making one for the movie for Booker to wear, so they molded it to fit him right. And it's bigger than an actual goalie mask would be, just to give it the look that they wanted. But I was looking up goalie mask, and they go back. The first goalie mask was made in 1927, worn by a woman named Elizabeth Graham. And the first fiberglass goalie mask to use in the NHL was in 1959. It was Jacques Plante of the Montreal Canadiens was hit with a rising shot in the nose and was knocked unconscious by New York Ranger Andy Bathgate. He was forced to leave the game to be stitched up, but later returned wearing a flesh-tone mask constructed by fiberglass with cutouts for the eyes. By this time, he had broken his jaw, both cheekbones, and his nose. His skull had suffered a hairline fracture, and he had gotten over 200 stitches from past injuries received during games. So the mask was created by Bill Birchmore. It was a product of a Canadian company called Fiberglass Canada. Birchmore, sales and promotional manager for this company, envisioned the mask. One evening, he had gone to watch a game in which the guy was goaltending and witnessed him getting hit in the forehead with a puck, resulting in a 45-minute delay of game, which he was being stitched up. While at work the next day, he was looking at fiberglass mannequin head when he realized that he could design a contoured, lightweight fiberglass mask that would fit the goalie's face like a protective second skin. Birchmore gave the guy his idea, and they persuaded the trainers to give it a try. A mold was taken of the player's face. He had to put a woman's stocking over his head, cover his face with Vaseline, and breathe through straws stuck in his nostrils while his head was covered with plaster. Birchmore layered sheets of fiberglass cloth saturated with polyester resin on top of the mold. The result was this flesh tone, probably like the Hannibal Lecter mask.
Mm.
The first goaltender to decorate his mask, chevron shit like that, was Jerry Shivers, who painted stitches on his mask where he had been hit with a puck or stick. Ernie Higgins seems to be the guy who is the possible designer of the mask the way Jason's mask looked. The look of Jason's mask came around in like 1969, 1970 by Fibrosport company. They make goalie masks. So I just wanted to look up the history of the goalie masks and where the actual this look came from.
Have you seen the modern goalie masks they have now? Like, could you imagine a killer running around with one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be good. It'd be crazy. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Number one should be obvious.
Yeah.
The William Shatner redesigned mask from John Carpenter's Halloween. Shape on the phone. Talking to his.
Yeah, it's a funny shot, but it's like the best shot in the movie.
So it's the closest one that you can find an image of the mask, because you've got the closet scene. You've got the one where he's looking over the what do you call it? The balcony, I guess. The steps. Here, show it off.
Yeah, this is Mabry's Thrasher Part 2 replica of it. Which, horror aficionados will know, the first two movies use the same mask. And I think by now it's kind of common knowledge that it's a 1975 Don Post Captain Kirk mask that the art director...
Did you imagine they would have used Spock?
Well, did you ever see that what's it called? Night of the Slasher? It's a short film. It's really good. A friend of mine made it, where it's basically they keep making a Halloween movie, but the killer's wearing the Spock mask, and it's actually really good.
Is it done up or is it just a Spock mask?
I don't think it's that modified.
I'd like to see a modified Spock mask, like the
look like
Myers.
Myers.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
but yeah, for those who don't know, I imagine everyone knows, but it was a Captain Kirk Star Trek Don Post Halloween mask that was sculpted by William Malone, who went on to direct the House on Haunted Hill remake and the Fair Haired Child episode of Masters of Horror, which is one of the best. He did Fear.com. But Tommy Lee Wallace, who was doing art, he was editor and art director on Halloween. Also played Michael Myers a couple times in the movie, in the closet scene, and a few others. He was sent to find the mask because in the script it just said, I think, a shaved blank mask or whatever, and inspired by like the Eyes Without a Face movie from France back in the day. And anyway, so Tommy just went down to Burbank, probably the same Halloween shop like I went and saw my Halloween mask in, and bought a couple masks. And he bought an Emmett Kelly clown mask, and he bought that Kirk mask. And he took the Kirk mask and he ripped the sideburns off and spray painted the hair black and spray painted the mask white, cut the eyes up bigger. And I don't know if Nick Castle was the one wearing it or not, but it may not have been Nick. But guy came out wearing the Emmett Kelly mask, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's creepy." But then when the guy came out wearing the Kirk mask, they went like chills, like they were like, "Oh my God, that's fucking terrifying." And it really is. It's like this amazing. Like, what's the likelihood of that happening? Like, it's just amazing that someone would like just go buy a mask of a famous actor and fuck with it a little bit, change the color or whatever, and then
pull the eyebrows and sideburns off.
It just what a happy accident.
It's the Kirk mask itself is creepy. It really is.
It is. It's a creepy looking mask.
Yeah, and like, well, it's that scene from Devil's Reign. Have you ever see that where his eyes are missing? It's the Kirk mask essentially, but like that mask alone is creepy. And so is, I just looked at the Spock mask. I just looked it up. That's really creepy because the eyebrows and anyway, like that, and the haircut so much creepier because it's just a Beatles cut almost. But yeah, the Kirk mask alone is creepy, and then add a couple things because it's like a blank canvas.
Blank canvas, and then like the hair, the where the hair is, and the way it would go out, and like
it looks like Bill Murray's haircut. Just saying.
And the wild thing about that mask, and people have had so much trouble recreating it, is that it depends on the person wearing it and how it looks. Like so in part one, Nick Castle, has a very skinny, long face. Like when I wear it, I don't look anything like Kirk from the first movie. I have a round face. But
you also don't look like Dick Warlock.
Yeah, Dick Warlock. Dick Warlock wore it in part two, and it's the same mask, but it has a different look. And
he's got that wide head.
He's got a wide head, so they call it the Warlock stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it fits him a little bigger or tighter, and it just gave it this different form. And in the second movie, it's a little different because it'd been sitting around. I guess some of the black spray paint it kind of goes, so the hair was darker in the first movie. It's a little more blonde, like Shatner in the sequel, and then it's got more dirt on it because Dick Warlock says he was kind of rough with it. And he would always take it off by the nose. So if you look at the movie, the nose is really dirty.
Yeah. Also, it was under Deborah Hill's bed, and she's a heavy smoker. Apparently, that did some damage to it too.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I don't know how true that is, but I think Dick Warlock actually said, or maybe
he said it was like. Did he say it was like on her desk?
Something. It just sat there for a couple of years. Yeah.
He went in to be, I think, just maybe the stunt coordinator.
Oh, and he put it on. Yeah.
He saw it there and he put it on, and they said, "Why don't you be the guy?"
Yeah.
Because I mean, the way Nick Castle got the part was he was just a friend of John's in college, and he wanted to come down and watch them make the movie. And John's like, "Well, if you're going to be here, why don't you just throw the mask on and be the guy?" And I think he said that he liked the way Nick walked, and Nick was like, "Well, what's my direction?" He goes, "Just walk." And so yeah, I mean, it's just that mask. it's just like, again, a happy accident. Had that the likelihood of that happening was 1 in a million. And I posted the other day about someone had shared it. And I kind of liked that conversation, so I wanted to push it out. Was if they had used the Emmett Kelly mask, would it have worked as well? I think the movie would have been good, but I don't think the movie would have been regarded as it did, because there was something that mask brought to that character. And some guy made a good point today on my post that I had never thought about, is that the Emmett Kelly mask would have aged the character because it's an old man face, and it would have made you psychologically think of him as older. And there is something useful about Michael, even in the new David Gordon Green movies. Even though he's 60 years old, you don't think of him as a 60-year-old man in the movie, even though the face is all damaged and all that. But
Right.
so I never, that didn't hit me about the clown mask would have aged them. And the thing about the clown mask is, the clown is just like, it's such a cliche. We'd seen scary clowns in movies before. Lon Chaney had played a couple, and but we had never seen anything like Michael Myers, even though Eyes Without a Face, it's not exactly that. It's different. There's just something about that mask. And out of all the things I've ever seen people reacting, people are genuinely creeped out by that mask more than any other mask I could think of.
I'm asking our followers that question. I looked at your post.
I think the movie would have been okay with the Emmett Kelly mask. I don't think
it would be where it is today.
It would be as, how do you say it? It's
iconic
or respected. I think it would have been. I think it would have made the movie more schlocky, with a clown killer, as opposed to this very unique, something we'd never really seen before. Because as someone said, you could project anything on that. It's just a blank canvas, but it's still human, but it's inhuman. It's just amazing. It really is an amazing thing. And like you said, I've drawn it 1,000 times at this point.
Right. And there is no way there anybody, in my opinion, that there could be another number one. This is the most iconic horror mask of all time. I'm sure the Jason mask is right up there.
The Jason mask, I mean, we've talked about it. Like the hockey mask became kind of a representation of this horror genre as a whole. Like, you could find a hockey mask anywhere, and you'd see spoofs of horror where Clark Griswold's wearing a hockey mask, or it became a very easy stand-in. It's just funny that he didn't even have that mask until the third film, and became so synonymous with it. And it wasn't even the first movie to have a hockey mask. I didn't talk about that, but there are a few movies. Of course, 1981, Humongous from Road Warrior had a hockey mask on, and then there was a movie called Rape Squad in the 70s, where the guy had a hockey mask on. And then didn't somebody wear a hockey mask in the Jack Shoulder movie, the Alone in the Dark?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Jason wasn't even the first to do that. It was like the fourth movie to have a hockey mask villain. But nothing was like the shape mask, the Michael Myers Kirk thing. It's just, I love it. I love drawing it. It's hard to get it because it changes so much because of the lighting. But when you get that drawing right, or that image right, or you find the right images, that mask, I really love. Like, it changes so different in the first movie, and I think it's because there were so multiple people wearing it. Tommy Lee or Nick, but Dick Warlock. It just looks fantastic every scene on Dick Warlock. I actually love the way it looks on Dick Warlock. It's just something.
I do too. It's a little bit different. Like, when I was younger, I was like, nah. But over time, you know, it has grown on me, and you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. It I don't know. I like it. I honestly thought it was two different masks for the longest time too.
Just every time I see it and it really creeps me out, it's usually a Dick Warlock photo.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I think I mean, for the most part, I don't know. I was gonna say, if I think for the most part, I don't know. There is something about the Dick Warlock uh mask, especially in this setting. I don't know if it's this like the hospital, the dark hospital hallways that really helps. I don't know if that's just me, but you know what I mean. Like sometimes I wonder, like that helps as well. Like where the other it's the same mask, but in the first movie, he's out and about, but for some reason in the dark hallway, it's heavily in shadows, and there's some great. I like, and I don't know who it was that said they didn't like the way Dick Warlock moved. I also like the way he moves as Michael Myers.
I
So
love Dick Warlock's
yeah, I do
performance.
too.
There's something creepy in the way he had the collar up, and it's kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, that scene when he's walking down the steps and you know, it's a low angle shot. I love that. I love it. That's one of my favorite shots in the entire series. So
And my favorite moment in the whole series is the Elrod scene where he just
yeah,
walks and then takes the knife and walks out and he's walking through the yard, and there's something just the yeah this the stillness and the almost robotic.
hmm
Um,
oddly enough, he plays a robot in the next one,
yeah,
a cyborg, whatever you want to call him.
and that's what made me think of when I did that one cover for Halloween 3. It was just do the androids. I'm like, well, the androids are basically Michael without a mask on.
Mhm.
I mean, so yeah, I adore that mask
Yeah,
a lot, and I love drawing it. Like I said, I've done a lot of Halloween. I'm working on Halloween stuff now, and I'm always offered to draw Michael. It was my first Blu-ray cover was Michael Myers Halloween 2, and someone said, "Are you kind of burnt out?" I was like, "I'll draw Michael Myers till I can't draw anymore." Like it's just fun. Like the thing is, I love drawing Jason too, but I've never really done. I've done a few things officially of Jason, but not many. Like I've done Fright Rag or Horror Hound covers and things with Jason, but like
I like that one piece you did with all the masks, and you know, it's like a circle
the
walk.
most bootleg thing.
Yeah,
That
the
was
most
a
big-
that
yeah,
was a
pretty much.
that was a personal commission,
Mm.
and you know it was just supposed to be a personal commission.
You should
And
do
so
one for Michael Myers like that. Why not? You know,
yeah.
all the masks in a circle, and I don't know.
Yeah, but then it
Good
ended
movie.
up getting bootlegged, and it's been on everything. And yeah,
That's true. Even with the watermark, some people can't tell it's there. It's like, hey, moron, you're selling a T-shirt that's first of all you stole the image, and second of all, there's a fucking watermark right there. You can see it. You're an
have you
idiot.
heard about? I just found that out this week. Have you heard about this whole thing that artists have developed or people have developed to get back at the AI stuff?
No.
There's, I can't remember what it's called. If anybody knows watching, but there's a free software or something that artists can use to add to their if you're posting your new artwork online, put it out there, you add this to it. So if AI tries to use it, there's something like it's almost like a poison. It acts as a poison. That's what they're calling it. That there's just a few things that are in it that's in the pixels that you can't notice looking at it. Like if you look at my artwork, you can't see it, but it's there. But when the AI takes it and tries to learn it and replicate it, it changes it into something else. So if it's like a picture of a car, when AI gets a hold of it and tries to recreate it, suddenly it becomes a horse or something.
Oh, wow.
Or something. So
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a way to fuck these companies and
fuck AI, man.
From stealing from artists, and but like some people are saying, oh, you better be careful because they could sue you for destroying their software or whatever. And I don't know, but like I haven't used it yet. But I was like, I love that there has been that
Countermeasures.
they've countered, like they've created a weapon to defend themselves from thievery. These people stealing their images, so their art.
Interesting. That is very interesting and good to hear that something's being done. So that's the number one mask, Michael Myers, The Shape from John Carpenter's Halloween. Sorry, Seth wasn't here to talk about. It's one of his top 3 horror movies, maybe. I know An American Werewolf in London and Night of the Living Dead are probably 1 and 2. This has got to be close to 3.
Like I said, I've drawn that mask, and like it's just there's the lip, the upper lip, the dominant upper lip, the thin bottom lip, the pug nose, the nose is tall, small, and kind of goes up a bit, and then the cheekbones. I mean, it's just beautiful. Like there's something beautiful about it, but so creepy and off-putting at the same time.
Mhm.
And then you get that little like the choice to remove the sideburn just gives it this like weird. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you ever saw the picture, but Ed Gein had that haircut.
Did he really?
Yeah. So there's a photo of Ed Gein and someone like made him look like Michael Myers, and they say Ed Gein and Michael Myers had the same look. Always goes back to Gein.
Yeah. Ed Gein's haircut, kinda, and William Shatner, the Shatman. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say before we head out for the night? Before we figure out what our next topic is for next week? I'm not sure what the topic will be. One of these movies we saw The Mask in. I'm sure it will pop up as one. Maybe we'll do that. John, what is it called? John Dies at the End. I will say that on the 11th, we likely won't have a show because it's the Super Bowl. And I know 3 of the 4 of us, I don't know if you watch Super Bowl or not, 3 of the 4 of us generally watch the Super Bowl.
I sometimes do. But yeah, I don't know. I think I just, with sports, I used to love sports. I used to love football. I used to play basketball. I love basketball. I think I stopped watching sports because my wife wasn't in it.
Oh, yeah.
And wasn't into it. And, sports, I was watching football games was a big commitment. And it's always on the weekend where that was a time where I had with my wife, spend time with her. And it's like, sorry, babe, I'm watching 2 or 3 football games today. And, that's like 6, 7, 8 hours of like her.
9, actually. They're 3 hours each, yeah.
Yeah, 9 hours of her. The day that I have with her, like, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch football all day. She doesn't give a shit about. So just out of my own love and courtesy to my wife, I just I don't love football that much anymore to do that. And
I mean, I was a guy who watched like every Cardinal game that was on. So St. Louis Cardinals baseball every night. And, that's all summer, 162 games a year. I watched every game that was on, which was pretty much every game. 7 o'clock every night. I was, and when I married Elizabeth, that changed. So, but she actually enjoyed football, so I was able to watch football with her. So, but yeah, I get it. I totally get it. My son is getting into football, and this is his first year really getting into it. So I definitely want to watch the Super Bowl with him, even though I hate the Chiefs that are in it. So,
but I miss like the drama of being into a team. With football, I don't know if I was a big Bills fan. I was
Seth.
I was a big like Chicago Bears fan back in the Walter Payton days and all that.
Sweetness.
But basketball was my thing. So I remember the fanaticism of being a Chicago Bulls fan, and like that was like in the 90s, like being at work and not wanting to find out who won because I worked 3rd shifts and like, I got to go to work before the fucking game's over, so I'd record it. And, I'd be at work, like, trying to clock out, like, don't anyone talk about the Bulls game.
I mean, back then, the Bulls were must-see TV.
Yeah.
So, for sure.
Living in this area, like, probably you too, like, we got the WGN. We got to see all the Bulls games.
Yeah. So. We didn't, because we don't have I'm right on St. Louis's doorstep, but we don't have a basketball team or football. anymore.
What's wild is Kentucky is a basketball state.
Yeah.
Like with UK, U of L,
Mhm.
fanatic. And we don't have a pro team. I mean, the closest we had was like the Colonels back in the ABA days, but it's always been weird that Kentucky doesn't have a professional basketball team because we are a basketball crazy state. I mean, it doesn't get much more rabid than the UK Wildcat fans, but so our closest, I guess, is the Pacers or. Cincinnati doesn't have a basketball team.
No. Yeah, football and baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the Pacers would be our closest. The Bulls are about 5 hours from here. I thought about going to a Pacers game because it's only 3 hours away. And I didn't realize I'm wearing Michael Myers.
I got Michael too.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I thought about doing it because I want to give Reynolds a taste of. We're gonna try to go to a Colts game this year. I'd like basketball games are actually really exciting to go to.
Yeah, I went and saw. I've seen the college games, but my only NBA game was a game in Louisville. They played at Freedom Hall at U of L Cardinals, exhibition like preseason thing, and it was right after the Bulls won their third three-peated 93, and my dad bought tickets, and 8 days before the game, Michael Jordan retired.
Oh,
and Scottie Pippen was injured, so I didn't even get to see Pippen either. So it was like, yeah. So, but I still got to see Horace Grant, Bill Cartwright. I think Tony Kukoc had just signed with them, so he was there, and they were playing the Bullets. So it wasn't like I was being a great team they were against either.
but I mean, Jordan may not even played much in the preseason anyway.
Yeah, he may not have done it, but I never got to see him. And when I look back at time, like, why didn't I? Why did I just drive to fucking Chicago? Why didn't I buy a ticket? Why didn't I go see Michael play? Never did. And the thing is, I've never been to an NFL game. I've never been to a Major League Baseball game. And I could go up to Chicago. I could go up to Cincinnati. I could do all that. Maybe I just need to do that. But
experience it once. I will say, I think of all the four major sports, MLB, hockey, NFL, and NBA, I think that hockey, there's this excitement and it's electric inside during the game because it's so fast paced, and the games go by really fast. So I'd say that and basketball are, because they're constantly scoring in basketball. But for some reason, I feel like NFL is the worst experience because, like, most of the time, you sitting in the center, like close to the 50-yard line, would be great. Yeah. So if you're sitting on one end zone, there's a lot of the game could be taking place all the way across the stadium, and then because I've had that happen to me where I'm in an end zone and I'm like, cool. Because the Rams were here and I could never it was terrible. But
I mean, I've been to like the Louisville Cardinal football games, and I've been to seen the Louisville Cardinals basketball games, and I've been to the Louisville Bats. Or we had the Redbirds back in the 80s.
Yep.
So I wasn't the Redbirds like they the St. Louis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we lost them to the Reds.
Yeah. So I remember seeing the Redbirds when I was a kid. Now we have the Bats, I think.
No, I think hold on, I think it changed again.
Did it change again?
Yeah. It's weird because it changes every once in a while. Like like Scranton Wilkes-Barre, it is still the Bats, okay. Because it does change. Like Scranton Wilkes-Barre was always the Phillies minor league affiliate, and because they're right in Scranton, basically. And now it's somebody else, I think. It's just really strange. I'm trying to think, who are we? We got a team. Springfield. I'm thinking of Springfield. I don't play for the team. If you want to come to a Cardinal game, let me know. St. Louis Cardinal game. One of the best stadiums in Major League Baseball. Not a bad seat in the house.
I come to do my escape from LA or New York.
New York, yeah. In St. Louis.
And I'll go see the ball. I mean, I did when we did stay in St. Louis, and we were by the
ballpark
or
stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there was a game that night too. I think it was pretty crowded.
Dude, St. Louis goes crazy over their baseball. I do too. I'm not gonna lie. But real fast, let's do the top 5, and then we're gonna bust out of here and get ready for next week's show. Number 5 is the Phantom Killer of Texarkana from The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Number 4 is Scream, Ghostface, Various. How many people wore that mask? Like 11 now? Something like that?
3 in the last one, 2 in the one before.
So 12 probably, because Roman was a single.
Yes. How many 2 in this? Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, I think it's 12. Average 2 per, but Roman's right. You think about it. We need to reevaluate Roman as a villain, because if he did it all by himself, he's kind of a badass. And
yeah, that was such a boring reveal.
I know. It was generic, but
just like the 6th one, I just didn't like the reveal, but I liked the movie. Yeah. I love the Billy Loomis age. I mean, it's like everything's the age now. Rob Zombie did it, and now David Gordon Green did it, and now they did it. But it did look cool in that scene.
I think so. It looks really good.
Yeah, it was cool looking.
Yeah,
just to give us something a little different.
And then number 3 is the killer mask for Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the greatest horror movies ever made. And it is 50 this year. And then, of course, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, the second most iconic mask in horror history, because the most iconic is Michael Myers, the Shape, on the phone. I love that. I do like that shot.
Yeah.
He gets to be on. He gets an upgrade in Halloween Kills. So gets to use a cell phone, right? Is it a cell phone? I think it's a cell phone. Yeah, it's what's her name? Cell phone. Judith. Not Judith. What the hell's her name? Judy Greer.
Judy Greer.
Yeah. Judith Greer. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Anybody who watches this show, we're up to 16 subscribers on YouTube. Seth and I will be back for The Bride of Chucky and The Seed of Chucky on Wednesday. Both of them, in my opinion. I don't like either one of those. And then we'll be back next Sunday.
They were fun. I get John Waters. Oh, God, love the
John Waters. Redman, too, was in The Seed of Chucky. But anyway, we'll be back on next Sunday with a movie. I don't think we've even talked about a movie yet this year, have we? No. So we'll do a movie. We'll pick one of the ones we should do a show on, and that'll be fun. And then we'll take a week off and get back to it after the Super Bowl. Anyway, everyone have a great night. Nate, have a great night.
Too.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.